All right, so the LILJ is back for another edition of the Weekly Crossbar Podcast. It's Ellis Joshua, TJ Hyder, and Jack Helitz coming at you here on this Friday. Guys, it's been a couple weeks, but we are back and better than ever. How are we doing here today?
Can't ask for better, Ellis. This is the best time of year. We're watching some of the best Long Island teams play against each other, colliding on the field. Knicks are up 1-0. And I think Josh Hart just got another rebound.
Yes, he did.
While we were talking.
Still getting rebounds as we speak. Let's go Knicks. But
Yes,
Jack, how you doing here today?
I'm doing very good.
Awesome. It's great to have you guys. Another edition of the podcast. And there's been so many playoff games going on over the past couple of weeks. Most recently, we had your county championship games over in Suffolk County on the boys and girls side last weekend, and then your Nassau County boys championships during the week. So we're here to just kind of briefly recap some of the county final games and then also talk about the Long Island championships coming up here tomorrow and Sunday. Boys coming up tomorrow at Stony Brook, and the girls on Sunday at Stony Brook. So let's dive into just kind of recapping these county final games. I know, TJ, you were away, but I know you were definitely following along closely.
I was tuned in, baby. So we can dive right in.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Jack, of course, you were with me for a number of these games as we had boots on the ground. So we're going to kind of go back to last Saturday, and we'll do a brief recap of the Suffolk Boys County Championships. And we'll start with the first game of the day, which was your B County final between West Islip and Smithtown East. And Smithtown East, they came away victorious 8-7, punching their ticket to the Long Island Championship game. And that was really just a great way to start Saturday morning. It was really a back and forth game. Either team could have came away with a victory. And we got to go Instagram Live in the closing minutes of the fourth quarter there in a tie game. And for Smithtown East, it was Brock Bernhardt scoring a man-up pole goal with about 40 seconds left on the clock in the fourth quarter to give Smithtown East that 8-7 lead. And they were able to hold on in the end for the win to advance to the LIC. But what a great game it was. I mean, Jack, you can kind of talk too just about what you saw from that game, just giving your thoughts. But I mean, I know you and I, we're on the same page when we say that that game did not disappoint at all.
That game did not disappoint at all. That was a game from the starting face-off to the end. It looked like it could have gone either way.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, go ahead.
I mean, the face-offs I thought were pretty even on both sides.
Yeah, I thought the face-off battle was pretty even, like you said, which gave both teams a good chance to win. I thought that West Islip, there were moments where it looked like they had momentum. They actually had a multi-goal lead in that first half. I believe they were up 5-3 at one point. They actually had the lead at halftime as well by a goal. So there were moments where it looked like they could kind of snag momentum away from Smithtown East. But Smithtown East sticking in the game, always being within striking distance. They rally back, grab the lead. And again, the second half, it was really just back and forth between those two teams. I thought both teams had so many players that made big plays. I mean, for Smithtown East, we mentioned Bernhardt with the game winner. Cameron James, he had a 5-point game. You know he's going to deliver when the lights are shining the brightest. He was 3-2. I thought in goal, CJ Stein, he had a great game. He had 12 saves. I thought the Smithtown East defense overall played a really good game. Max Altidore, one of their poles, number 2, he had a number of ground balls. Especially too, coming off of saves that were made by Stein. I mean, we see it all the time how those rebounds can kind of carry them back to the offense and they get second opportunities. But I thought Altidore was big in the ground ball department.
Or Ress.
For Smithtown East. Yup, Ress is another one as well. If you go back to the offense, I thought Brendan Power, he played a strong game. He was 2-1 on the offensive side of the field. But really just a collective effort for Smithtown East to get that win. I mean, there's so many different plays, so many different moments where you can pinpoint in that game that kind of help them prevail to victory, besides just the Bernhardt game winner in the final seconds. But really just a great game and a great way to start the day. I mean, Jack, you want to talk about some West Islip standouts because they were right there.
Oh, one other player we'd have mentioned Smithtown East, Campbell Cracchiola.
Yup, Campbell's another
2
one.
goals on the day, had a bunch of ground balls.
Absolutely.
For West Islip, their big standouts, I would say, were Chase Busking.
Yeah, Chase Busking for sure. He always steps up in a big game. I know, TJ, obviously you've seen West Islip a few times this year. I mean, it's pretty much a foregone conclusion that Busking is going to come to play.
Yeah, and you know what? I wasn't really surprised necessarily by the outcome or the goal totalage in this game, because especially, Smithtown West has really been relying on that defense for really the entire season here. They've been really, really strong, and it starts with CJ Stein between the pipes. You have Matt Passarello and company down there laying lumber, making it difficult on opposing offenses. And we know how good West Islip is offensively. They have Will Schwartz. They have both Bus King brothers. This is a talented group, and they have Gentili, so for Smithtown East to really come out and to kind of neutralize them, especially in the second half, was really impressive. And, we know that down the stretch here in the playoffs, you need good goaltending and you need good defense. And it seems like the Smithtown East defensive side of the ball is really coming alive at the perfect time.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, those are two things. Like, as you're saying that, TJ, my mind is kind of shifting to football. And like, two things that you can always carry with you in football are a running game and a defense. And Smithtown East, they have strong goaltending and they have a very good defense. And it has definitely gotten them to this point now where they're going to be playing in the Long Island Championship game here tomorrow.
Also goaltending, too, for West Islip. Brendan McMahon had 11 saves.
Yeah, that's right. McMahon posting double-digit saves. Again, like, that game, it literally could have gone either way. And West Islip, they had a chance there in the closing seconds. Busking had the rock. Chase Busking.
Brock Bernhardt.
Yeah, trying to get the game-tying goal. And Bernhardt, after scoring what was the go-ahead and game winner, then makes a big-time defensive play to end up sealing the game for Smithtown East. So just a great game all around. Congrats to Smithtown East on advancing to the LIC.
That was their
flip. It was a great season for them too, making another county championship. One more thing you want to say, Jack?
You mentioned Smithtown East. I thought, tomorrow we're going to get into their LIC matchup in a little bit, but for Smithtown East, this was definitely a great season for them, securing their first county title since 2015.
Yeah.
And definitely got to give Coach Huff and his staff, a great shout out for bringing a championship back to Smithtown East. Yeah,
it's an excellent point. First county championship since 2015, so it's been 11 years. And you said it, Jack. Coach Huff, he's done a great job with this Smithtown East program.
And it's year 2 after a long stint at ESM.
Right. Yup. Former head coach at ESM, and now this year taking Smithtown East, who's in Class B for the first time. So facing a whole bunch of new opponents that they don't typically face on their schedule, and they are in the Long Island Championship game. So congratulations to the Bulls. And you said it, Jack. We'll get into the LICs a little bit later.
And also to West Islip, I also want to give them a little bit of a shout out for making it this far. Plus, they were a team that really went through a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, that's been the thing for West Islip the last couple of years, unfortunately, just being hit with the injury bug. But yeah, Coach McAlevey
in his first year, taking over for Coach Corcoran, did a great job getting the team to this point. And West Islip does have a bunch of returning players coming in next year, so they will be an interesting team to watch.
Yeah. Good call, Jack. You took the words right out of my mouth. I'm, great season for West Islip, and they're one of the programs that I'm really looking forward to seeing in 2027, with a bunch of those guys another year older, a little bit more experienced. But congrats to a great season for West Islip, and congrats to the Bulls on advancing here.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll kind of continue now into the second game back on Saturday, and that was your Class C county final between Sayville and Mount Sinai. And boy, if you want to talk about making a statement, that is exactly what the Sayville Golden Flashes did, beating Mount Sinai 18-4 to coast their way to the Class C Long Island Championship game. And those two teams, I mean, they played each other during the regular season, and that was a 1-goal game. And now this time around, it was just all Sayville. So just a completely different story this time around. I mean, Sayville, they played as well as you could play, especially with their ability to kind of dominate possession, winning the faceoff, starting with Sean Casey. He was great at the faceoff X. Unfortunately for Mount Sinai, of
Tommy
course.
Massaro.
Tommy Massaro. He was out on the field, but he got banged up in that game, and then he was not 100%, which you never want to see that. He did end up coming back into the game and took a few more faceoffs, but then
they were already out of reach.
Yeah, like the game was out of reach, and you can tell it's one of those things where you want to just live to fight another day, and like you don't want to put yourself in further harm's way. So we didn't get to see that matchup quite as much as we were hoping for with him and Casey at the faceoff X. So a tough break there for Mount Sinai. But again, you still got to give Sayville a ton of credit just for the way they came out. I mean, that was a 4-0 lead very early in that game, and they just never looked back. Put up 18 goals, only giving up the 4. I mean, for Sayville offensively, Javen Taft, he was 3-1. Tristan Vitale, he struck for 4 goals.
Connor Batterberry.
Yep, Connor Batterberry, he was also 3-1. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm looking at my notes here. Brady O'Donohue, he ended the game with 6 points, 2 goals, and 4 assists. And then in net, Troy Cowder, just the 4 goals allowed, and he ended up with 8 saves. So again, it's really just as good of a game as you could have asked for if you're the Sayville Golden Flashes or a fan of Sayville. And this was a 3 seed, by the way, that ended up going on this run here to the Long Island Championship.
I was saying to myself a few weeks ago that I was watching a game on their huddle between West Islip and Sayville, and Sayville ran away with that game. I think it was like 17-10. Mm-hmm. And all year, a lot of people, Sayville came into the season with a lot of expectations because, like you said, they were returning so many players from last year. And a lot of those, like we mentioned, Vitale, Taft, Batterberry, and Casey. And we were saying that a lot of people thought this team was going to be, then, they were a bit up and down. But then towards the end of the season, I was like, this team, I really think they picked it up. And I saw their game watched it, and I was like, this team, I think they picked. Then I got to see them play in that Smithtown East game, which arguably could have been a game of the year.
Yeah, that's right. You were at that game, and go ahead, Jack.
And I was saying to myself too, if Sayville plays like this, especially on the offensive side, I'm like, this team could still win Class C. I did not give up on this team.
Oh no, absolutely not. I mean, like you said, they probably had a lot of hype going into the season. A lot of people were definitely high on them, and look, they had some tough games to open up the season. But to be fair, they played some tough teams, and that's what you should.
Washington, Massapequa to start off your year.
Yeah, you played 2 really good Nassau teams to open up the season, and then as we see in Division II in Suffolk, there's a number of high-level teams that you play throughout the season where you can kind of be up and down. But I think you said it, Jack. Going back towards the tail end of the regular season, that's when you kind of started to see what you may have expected to see throughout the entirety of the season from Sayville. They kind of picked it up, and they've ended up punching their ticket to the Long Island Championship here. So it's really just a matter of playing their best lacrosse at the right possible time.
Yeah. Like I said, I was watching the West Islip game, and I'm like, this team can definitely win C if they play like this. And even too, like I was impressed by what I saw against Smithtown East. Besides, how that game ended.
Yeah, in spite of the outcome, because you were there obviously, and they had a lead late in the 4th quarter, and they let it get away. But since then, and even in that game, if you include it, they've really turned their season around here. And you go into the playoffs, and you beat Shoreham Wading River on the road at their house. Then you go to the county final, and you beat Mount Sinai handily. Now it sets up for them in the Long Island Championship game. And this is their first appearance since 2012, correct?
Yes. 2012 was there, and they beat Garden City that year in the LIC.
How about that? So Sayville was a B school at that point.
They beat Compsawag in the Suffolk County Championship that year, and I was at Stony Brook as an 11-year-old. That's how long ago it was. Long time ago. It's been a long time coming for that program.
Mentioning coach, a coach we'll talk about in a little bit was on that 2012 Sayville team.
Yeah, and it's you know what? I think, if you really go roster for roster, I think you could look at Sayville, and we could all mutually agree, even in different orders, depending on opinion, Sayville has one of the most talented rosters in Class C, and I would even include Nassau too. They're littered with Division I commits out there, and it's really why, I was in particularly high on them coming into the season. I just thought they had a lot in the tank. I thought they had a lot to prove, and I thought along the regular season, sometimes when a team is really good and talented, they know that they're really good and talented. And sometimes it's easy to take games off. You play a lesser opponent, and sometimes it's easier to kind of maybe not give it, everything that you would give in, a bigger game per se. But Sayville's kind of been a team that's kind of played up and down, against their competition all year. And for a team that's now playing in, deep in the postseason, going into their Long Island championship game, I think they're to be feared, because I think when they really want to turn it on, I think Sayville could beat anybody. I do.
Oh, I totally can agree, and that's what I was saying when I was watching that team towards the end of the season, and we were talking about like another thing. This Sayville team did a great job getting through adversity.
Yes, totally. I mean, I think too there's something to be said, because they went into the season with expectations, and
they were like seeded, I think, 2 or 3 in the entire BCD.
Right. So this is like the first time for this iteration of this Golden Flashes team going in with some high expectations, and it's about how you handle them. And again, they played some tough teams to open up the season, but as you've been saying, like, they've been up and down this year, maybe playing up or down to their competition at times, but they've, like you said, Jack, they've handled the adversity, and they've been able to kind of turn it on here, going back to the tail end of the regular season, and they're playing some of their best lacrosse at the most important time of the year. And that's how they've gotten to this point. And when you have a guy at the face-off X like Sean Casey, you're going to be in pretty much every game, you would think. And that'll be something to definitely watch. And we'll get into the LIC preview in a little bit, but again, Sayville, they are certainly live going into this matchup coming up here tomorrow afternoon.
I think they're the team, and we're going to talk about the LICs a little bit. I think they're the team that could shock people tomorrow.
Yeah,
interesting.
And because a lot of people out there, I mean, we're going to get a lot of people are favoring Nassau to win all these games.
Yeah, and we'll get into that for sure. But I think you could be onto something there, Jack, and you can kind of give your analysis on that when we get to the LIC portion of the podcast. But we'll continue on here, and we'll continue on with the third game of the Boys County Championships last Saturday. And this is a game that, Jack, is near and dear to your heart. And you're a professional, so you handled it in a professional manner, as we know that you would. But this was a matchup between the Bayport Blue Point Phantoms and the Babylon Panthers in your Class D county final. And boy, was that a game. I mean, back and forth, both teams trading leads, both teams making big-time plays, and it was the Phantoms, in the end, coming up with the final play of the game to seal the county title, as it was Sean Richmond scoring his second goal of the game, which proved to be the game winner with 2 seconds left in the fourth quarter to propel the Phantoms to the 7-6 win. And just what a game that was. What a moment for Richmond and the Phantoms. Just an extremely well-played game between two teams. I mean, Jack, we can kind of go in a bunch of different areas here to start. But I guess just kind of talking about the Phantoms for a second here. Again, Richmond with the 2 goals and the game winner. But the defense for Bayport played awesome in that game. I mean, you hold Babylon to just 6 goals, and remember there was a moment in that game, Jack, with that goal that was scored by Babylon, kind of like the self-inflicted wound for Bayport, and we were thinking, oh, like could that cost them? And it very well could have, because it ended up being a 1-goal game, but they were able to overcome that and come away with the victory in the end.
Billy Eisfeld, after that, he was like, no, I'm not allowing that again.
Yeah, Billy Eisfeld in the net, he was lights out, and kudos to him, because look, something like that happens in a huge game like that, and depending on who the person is, depending on your makeup, like that could be something that sticks with you and it kind of takes you off your game. But it didn't for him. He kind of just forgot about it. It was water under the bridge. You just kind of move on. And boy, did he deliver a net for the Phantoms. I thought he was awesome.
Yeah, I mean, after that, I think he ended the day with either 11 or 12 saves.
Yeah, he was great. And the defense as a whole.
I think it was either, because I got the stats, and I know on the Babylon side, Tommy Kenny had around that many saves too.
Yeah, both goalies were great between Eisfeld and Kenny. The Phantoms defense, I mean, Ahern, Waldbauer, Josh King, Carvalho. I thought they were awesome. They played a great game.
9 saves for Billy Eisfeld, 11 saves for Tommy Kenny.
Yeah, so it was pretty even in the net. Both goalies made the saves. They came up with saves in big moments. But I just thought that was one of those games where it was kind of the defense that had their imprint all over it. Joey Balestra also for the Phantoms. So they played a great defensive game, made just enough offensive plays to come away with the win. So congrats to the Phantoms. Also, just kind of going through this here, just checking my notes. Franchak, he also had 2 Gs for the Phantoms as well. But just kind of talking about Babylon, and of course, Jack, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that unfortunately for Babylon, not having Kai Jankow for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, or second quarter when he took a hit.
Yeah, that's a huge deal. And he took a hard hit, so like you can tell he was clearly shaken up, and not having him on the field, that's obviously a huge loss for Babylon in that game. I mean, they were still right there, but obviously they're a better team when he's on the field.
Yeah, I'd tell you too, like the one thing about Babylon is like they don't just rely on one player too, and they, when he was not there, I mean, of course it's a loss, but they did a good job managing players like Colin O'Brien, Corey Delafranca, Kyle Sabalos, some of those players, that take the steps, which, I mean, at the end, I mean, I still think they scored, 2 or 3 goals after he got hurt?
Yeah, it was, because I think it was a 4-4 game, no?
Yeah, it was 4-4 when he got hurt.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, look, the way the game was going, like the offenses were kind of being challenged anyway. Like it was an offensive struggle in that game for those 2 teams anyway. But again, obviously, if you have Jankow out there, of course, Babylon, they'll think that the outcome could have been differently. So it's unfortunate that he wasn't out there on the field after taking that hit. But it was definitely a game that kind of screamed defense as it was progressing. But you said it, O'Brien and Delafranca, they both stepped up offensively for Babylon, scoring 3 goals each.
And on the defensive side, we saw, from Christian Molnar, Shane Sonkin.
Right. And then in net, as we mentioned earlier, Kenny with 11 saves. So it was a game that easily could have gone the other way. But the Phantoms coming up with that game-winning goal by Richmond with just 2 seconds left. And you remember, Jack, they were out of timeouts too. So it was like they couldn't.
They had to get something.
Yeah, they just had to get something. Couldn't really diagram a play there on that final possession, but they were able to come through anyway. So congrats to the Phantoms.
And Dougie Meehan on his second championship in Bayport in 3 years. Right. And mention Dougie Meehan, he was on that 2012 Sayville team that we were just talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yup, and now he's
full circle
for the Phantoms.
And then Bayport Blue Point will play Cold Spring Harbor tomorrow for the Class D LIC.
Yup. Phantoms versus the Seahawks. So that should
be a good one.
rematch. And I was talking with someone from Bayport, and he said this is the rematch of 2011.
You were talking with someone from Bayport? No way.
Or actually,
no
he
way.
is someone in the media. He is someone in the media community.
You have sources everywhere.
I'm sure.
It's someone from the media community that we won't say his name here, but he's someone who does have a media content page that also has a lot of followers.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we'll take that into consideration.
So what was he saying, Jack? This is a rematch from
the 2011 LIC when Bayport went to states the first time.
Right. That was when they were in Class C. That even predates
way back with
right?
Coach Luce.
Yeah. Yes. We'll see what happens this time around. The one constant from 2011 is Coach Bond.
He's still there. And I mean, even still Luce, even though he's not the head coach anymore, he's still very involved with the Bayport program.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, so we'll get into that a little bit later again as we get to the LIC portion. But we got one more Suffolk Boys County game to run through here, and that was your Class A game between Sachem North and Northport. Excuse me. And TJ, I was telling you before we jumped on the recording here that I thought the atmosphere for pretty much every game was pretty good at the very least, but the atmosphere for that game was fantastic. And especially shout out to the Sachem North fans that were there.
Talking student sections, LI Sports Fanatic ranks student sections at the end of the year for football and basketball.
Yeah, we
may gotta do that. And right now, number one, maybe Sachem North.
Yeah, we might have to do that for sure because the Sachem North students, they packed out SBU and they had a blackout going. They were loud, they were energetic, they were rowdy. Obviously, that's such a great team that their students can get behind with Sachem North, as we were saying, Jack, too. Like these moments, they don't come around too often if you're a program like Sachem North. So it's a huge deal just getting to the county championship. But
winning it even just took another.
They were not satisfied with just getting there.
And also, too, I want to give a shout out to actually a player on the Sachem North girls team, Alyssa Tappan.
Yeah, that's a great
work that she's doing. Behind the scenes, being on the field, being
with their sports media.
She's been doing it, all year for all their sports.
Yeah, she's on the sidelines. She's doing interviews with players and coaches. I believe they have a Sachem North radio show there too. I think they have their own radio station.
They have a radio station.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, Alyssa Tappan, she's definitely spearheading that. It hopefully that's something where there's other students that can kind of carry the torch. But I think that's a great call, Jack, acknowledging that because she's done a great job. I've been kind of seeing some things from afar.
She really does.
So they definitely have the sports media aspect doing really well for Sachem North, and it's really been spearheaded by Alyssa Tappan. But yeah, as for the fans that were there, and as for the game, I mean, it was awesome. What a day to be a member.
Northport drew in great numbers too.
Yeah, they did. They definitely did. Again, it was a whiteout for Northport. It was a blackout for Sachem North. But what a day to be a player at Sachem North or to be a student at Sachem North, because that's going to be a game that they certainly remember for a long time, taking down the top-seeded Northport Tigers 12-7 to advance to the Class A Long Island Championship. And that was their first county championship game in 25 years. That was their first win in the county championship in 31 years.
Really, if we go into deeper, really their first in technically the schools in history because
they were combined.
There was actually only one high school back then.
Right, exactly.
And then when they split when the population they had to split, to east and north.
Yep. Yeah. So
my favorite thing is about the Sachem North team. How much they love each other, and they play like it.
Yeah,
you know what?
They were half of the game. They were like, so many pictures.
I think if a ground ball was to roll out into oncoming traffic, I think the entire team would go run after it because they love each other and they play for each other. And you know what? I'm glad that you started this segment talking about the Sachem North community showing out in the stands, because I think all of those things are correlated. The players are bought in, the coaching staff is brought in, the community's bought in. And you know what? That just leads to great results. And I can't say enough about this current Sachem North senior class. They just etched themselves in school history. I don't even know if a lot of us are even really, processing that enough, that they just etched themselves in a really unique, special spot in that school's athletic history. And it's all because they play for each other. They're tough. They're hard-nosed. They don't quit. And really, they've been quite a pleasure to watch all year. Let's not forget, they won 10 games last year for the first time in over a decade.
Yep. I was going to say, this is something that you can kind of see boiling, because last year they had a pretty good season, and we knew that a lot of those guys were going to be back this year. So it was just about trying to take that next step forward. Yeah, and when they do that.
I remember last year I covered their game against Lindenhurst in their opening playoff round, and I was saying to myself, this team, they got a lot of good juniors and sophomores coming back, and I'm like, this team could be a contender in a year or two.
And let's talk about revenge for a second here too. Northport played Sachem North in last year's quarterfinals?
Yeah, and Northport ran them off the field.
What was the score of that one, Jack? 19-4? You think this one tastes good this time around?
Right. Like those, you can't tell me those guys don't remember what happened last year.
No doubt. And you know what? I just think Sachem North is playing so cohesively right now that I don't know any team that really wants to see them. I think the average high school lacrosse viewer on Long Island that is kind of looking at this Long Island championship matchup from afar is immediately kind of thinking that Massapequa probably already put this one in the bag. And I'm here to say I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
So both communities are going to turn out in great numbers tomorrow.
They sure will.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be an electric atmosphere. I cannot wait for that.
And you know what? I got to give a lot of credit to Coach Muratori at Sachem North. I believe this is his 6th season, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's been there a couple years already, and it feels like each year he just keeps progressing this program. He keeps bringing them another step or two forward. In this case, it was about 3 or 4 steps forward in 2026. He's doing such a great job with those boys, with that program. He's really making them believe. And this time of year, I think there's nothing more powerful than belief, simply, in a locker room. And Coach Muratori has the perfect concoction of that at Sachem North right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it rubs off to the guys, onto the guys on the field. You can clearly see it. And like really from the jump, like those guys knew they weren't just happy to be there. They were there to win that game. And that was a statement win for Sachem North. And if we want to talk about guys like on the field, again, there's so many different areas you can start.
Pork chop Ganley.
Jack, you knew where I was going. I wanted to start.
I think pork chops are being, from what I hear, I think you can buy a pork chop for 50% less in that community.
50%.
It's true. It's one of my favorite nicknames on Long Island. It's like the perfect nickname for a goalie. It's perfect. Love it. And he was outstanding for this. And you know what? Especially against a really stout Northport offense with Grayson Cabrera, Gavin O'Brien, neutralized them.
Yeah, that defense overall gave Northport a lot of problems offensively, and we know that that's
Luke LaRocca, Tyler Jerome.
Ty Jerome, he is the next it on Long Island when it comes to your 28 polls. He's on another level. Ty Jerome is something to behold, and make no mistake, he's got offensive game too. As a long
goals in that game.
Yes, he does.
Two goals in that game.
Kind of reminds me a little bit like Brock Bernhardt a little bit.
Yeah, it's a good comp.
And they're both club teammates for 91.
Yeah. Yeah, we've seen some polls over the years that have offense in their game. I mean, thinking about Northport, like I was thinking about Drew Miller from a few years ago.
Right.
Drew Miller.
Filardi was like that.
Filardi, yup. Yeah, so Ty Jerome, he's going to be a big-time recruit coming off the island in your 28 class. I remember what I wanted to say also. Going back to the whole pork chop thing, Jack, you think they're going to be making pork chops at the Sachem North tailgate tomorrow?
Oh yeah, they better.
It better be. I'll stop there for one. LILJ is going to stop at the tent and go get a pork chop from the Sachem North community.
Hey, it might be right around dinner time by the time that game is supposed to start.
Yeah, it's 5:30 start, so we have perfect time.
I think where Sachem North really won this game was really I think they out-physicaled Northport, and that's not something that has happened in Northport all season, nor does it really happen frequently in general. You know, I think for the most part, most fields that the Tigers step on, usually they're bigger than the other team, they're usually faster than the other team, and they're usually more athletic than the other team. And I think that is huge part of their DNA. And Sachem North kind of just took a knife and cut right through that. They said, don't really care about it today. We're just going to rough you up. We're going to lay our checks. We're going to lay body on you. And you could see, especially going into the second half, you could see it was starting to pay a toll on Northport a little bit.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing too is that Northport, so they ended up taking the lead in the third quarter. They went up 7-6 off of a great turnover on the ride, and they ended up scoring the go-ahead goal. And it kind of like in that moment, you might be thinking like, okay, like now Northport, they finally got it going. They have the lead here. This might catapult them to a win here. They can kind of maybe seize control. And that did not happen. Sachem North with an immediate response. And that goal actually that Northport scored to go in front 7-6, that was the last goal that they scored in the game. They didn't score again. And
yeah, I think Sachem ended on a 6-goal run.
Yeah, because Northport went up 7-6. And then after that, the final score ended up being 12-7. So, yeah, Sachem North, they scored the final 6 goals.
Talk about a statement.
Yeah, that was a statement win. That was a signature win. I mean, look, those two teams, they've kind of been your number 1 and number 2 teams in Class A in Suffolk all season. But the number 2 team going in was the number 1 team on that day. So congratulations to Sachem North. And I can't wait for the atmosphere tomorrow evening.
And you know what? I've spoken about him on previous podcasts. I'm going to bring him back up just because it kind of coincides with my toughness MO with Sachem North that I mentioned earlier. You know, Lucas Bouchard, who's playing in the playoffs, by the way, you know, he has a high ankle sprain and a low ankle sprain on the same ankle. And in the same ankle, he also has a few torn tendons.
Jesus.
And he's playing on it. He's playing on it because these kids, they love their team. They love the guys that they've grown up with. And it's one of the most tight-knit cultures that I've been around covering games this spring. And they're taking it and they're running with it.
Yeah, and these opportunities, they don't always come around very often. And this is an opportunity that they have that they are really looking to maximize. So you said it, TJ. You can tell that these guys, they love playing together. They love playing for each other. I mean, the coaching on the sideline, it rubs off onto the guys on the field. Like you can clearly see it, and they are all in. And they're a team that kind of like Sayville, where like there were some expectations going into the season, and you kind of wonder like how they're going to handle them. And Sachem North, I mean, they've it's been relatively smooth sailing for North this season. They didn't kind of have those ups and downs like a team like Sayville did. I know they lost to Ward Melville. I know you were there, TJ, during the regular season. But like outside of that, they've kind of just gone about their business. They've stacked up the W's, got the 2 seed, and brought their best game when they needed it the most against a team like Northport.
And you know what that is, Ellis? That's senior leadership. Because that's a product of your best and most experienced players. They're not sophomores and juniors anymore. Now they're seniors. And you know what? They've been there. They've done that. They've been through all the trials and tribulations. They're at peace right now. They're playing comfortably. They're not even thinking. It's all just free flowing. And kind of like you just said, Ellis, this is something that really doesn't come around very often. And I think everyone in that locker room knows it. And I'm fully expecting them to come out and give everything that they have tomorrow against a really good Massapequa team.
Yeah, no doubt. And they got some guys too that'll be back next year, like guys like Calabria,
LaRocca, Jerome.
Yep, Jerome only a sophomore. But like just the upperclassmen in general, I think you said it, TJ. Those are guys that are clearly being looked upon as leaders, and they're leading by example on the field.
No doubt.
So yeah, we'll transition now, I guess, as that was the final boys game back on Saturday for the Suffolk County Championships. So we'll transition now into the girls on Sunday, and we'll start in order here. So we'll start with your A game, which was a rematch of last year's county championship game between Ward Melville and Huntington. And I just got to say, the Huntington Blue Devils, they have some knack, man, for winning these 1-goal games. It seems
single digits.
Yeah, it seems like pretty much all these tight games. I mean, I know the game against Northport this year during the regular season, that's like the one game where they were on the short end. But outside of that, the last 2 years, like all these 1-goal games have been going in favor of the Blue Devils. And it's kind of one of those things where kind of looking at it from like a pro sports perspective, especially in a sport like football, where like a lot of times you'll have a team that one year they're winning all these tight games.
Like the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, that's a good example. The Kansas City Chiefs from a few years ago, winning all those tight games. Then they followed up the following season, and they were losing a lot of close games. Like you kind of like expect sort of a regression to the mean kind of, but don't say that to these Huntington Blue Devils because they are winning all these 1-goal games. And they did so again back on Sunday, beating Ward Melville 6-5. And they just have something about them. And Jack, one of the things that we've talked about is like them having the coaching change going into this season. And like sometimes you wonder like, oh, like how's that maybe going to affect a team like that won the LIC last year, and now you don't have the same leadership at the very top. But Huntington has not skipped a beat, and they are right back in the LIC, going for the repeat this year. And we'll talk about the LIC a little later. It'll be a rematch, but congratulations to the Huntington Blue Devils. What a season they've had, really the last 2 years. They've just been unbelievable. It was a great game against Ward Melville, which we wouldn't expect anything less. Came down to the final seconds, and the Blue Devil defense, which has been awesome, really all season long, but especially in the playoffs and against higher caliber opponents, it's been locked down, and the defense is really what got them to this point, playing back in another LIC and holding Ward Melville to just 5 goals. And in the end, the game-stealing interception by Leighton Evans to seal the game for Huntington and advance them to the Long Island Championship. But just what a season the Blue Devils have had. And I just kind of wanted to start with the defense. But Jack, you can kind of chime in too and just give your thoughts.
Overall, like I expected a good game coming in. I was kind of feeling Huntington going into that day, but you knew that there was a lot of things that were going to play at factors. And overall, I really have liked Huntington's defense, and it all starts with Ava McDonald.
Yep, Ava McDonald.
They played as a team.
Leighton
Evans.
If you ask me.
Leighton Evans, also.
Claire Del Iacono, Madden Kalb.
I mean, their defense, they're playing, and I had this stat right here. They haven't they've only given up double digits. This year, they have not given up double digits.
Not one time.
Not one time they've given up double digits.
Wow.
So
That's a stat.
That's a great stat, Jack.
That's a stat.
So you might have the game where they like the most goals they've given up in a game this year. Off the top of my head, the Cold Spring Harbor game.
I think that let's see if they've given up a 9.
Because they gave up 8.
8 on Cold Spring. Yep, you're right. The most they've given up was against Cold Spring Harbor, and 8 goals.
I thought so. Yep. The defense has been on another level. And in Cage, I mean, we got to talk about Juliet Johnson. And I said this to her after they won the counties. I said, Juliet, I don't know what it is, but you have it. Because every game she steps up and making huge saves. She's cool, calm, collected under pressure. She's unfazed by the bright lights. And now she's played in a number of pressure-packed games when you look at the last 2 years and the run that they've been on. And she is just completely unfazed. She meets the moment every single time she steps onto the field. And having her as the last line of defense for Huntington, it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, she's just had a great season. And again, she's another one in the 28 class where watch out for her throughout the course of the summer and into the fall and seeing where she ends up committing to, where she gets recruited. But Juliet Johnson, she's been spectacular for the Huntington Blue Devils.
Oh, I could totally agree. And I mean, too, and she plays too, like one of those games. It's like, I got to lock in. I need to make sure I pile up my saves, make sure my defense, Yeah,
she's always locked in. And I think it's a good point, Jack. I think I kind of know what you're getting at. Like, she can trust the players that are playing in front of her too.
Oh yeah.
As a collective, like that's because of the collective effort by the Huntington defense. Like it's not just one individual, but it certainly helps to have a great goaltender like Johnson as your last line of defense.
I'm saying too, and this Huntington, I mean, especially their goaltender, their defense. I mean, the last 2 seasons have been spectacular.
Yeah, they've been great.
And two, talking about their offense with Jolie Weinschreider, who's also who's big on the draws.
Mm-hmm.
Valentina Puccio, who had 4 goals on a day.
Yeah, she's another one. I mean, Juliet on defense brings her A game every time. Valentina Puccio, boy, is she unfazed by a big game.
Yeah, 4 goals on a day for her. And I mean, in this year, her younger sister Olivia has been contributing.
Yep, the sophomore Olivia Puccio.
Overall, like Huntington, like they're one of those teams. They kind of remind me like of Cold Spring Harbor on the boys' side.
Oh, like defensive oriented, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, like they can win game. They win games like that. It's a good call. Like they'll win the 6-5 games, the 8-7 games. Like they don't have to blow teams out. They'll win those tight, low scoring games. And again, defense travels. Defense will go a long way.
It sure will. In the months of May and June, it's everything.
Yeah, and as we know, the phrase "defense wins championships."
Yep.
That's what happened in Huntington.
Yep.
And now, to mentioning Ward Melville, they played overall a great game too. They gave it a great fight, and at the end, we were thinking that they could have tied it up.
Yeah, they had a great chance to tie it up. It's just that final play, Leah Leonard. She was being swarmed, and I mean, she was trying to make the right decision, looking to feed because someone had to be open when you're being like double and triple teamed. But just a great read by Leighton Evans to intercept that pass. But yeah, Ward Melville, they had another great season, another spot in the county championship game. If a couple plays here and there go differently,
could have gone either different way. I mean, Leighton Evans, and maybe we got to get Maybe we need to get a Q&A with Layton Evans and Brock Bernhardt.
Oh, for
basically won their counties in the same fashion.
Yeah.
I'll have you set that up, Jack.
Yeah, we got to get those two either together. We'll do like a Q&A. But Tide,
I like that.
Ward Melville, who would you? Do you have any on the Ward Melville side for standouts?
Yeah, I thought Vivian Spidell.
And as an eighth grader, playing very well for them this year.
Yeah, a couple of their underclassmen.
Eighth grade. The name, if you know, obviously, you know, the brother Jack Spidell, who has been a household name at St. Anthony's and at Harvard.
Yep.
Yes. Yep. Wow.
Younger sister of Jack Spidell. Also, Nicole Manalakis, I think, had 2 goals on the day.
Yeah, I was going to mention her too. Another underclassman, Manalakis, just a freshman. She scored 2 in that game, and she had a great season overall. I mean, we were talking a few days ago, Jack. What does she have? Over 60 points this season?
Yes, I think at 63, I think she finished off at.
Yeah,
and also to another 8th grader who had who was a big contributor to the team this year, Maggie Giacchetti, and also on the defensive side, Jada Leonard.
Yeah, Jada Leonard, she's a beast.
They got this Ward Melville team has a lot to look forward to in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, you never want to take anything for granted, but you got to figure Ward Melville for the next number of years, they're going to have a great opportunity to, at the very least, be right there in the county championship, if not further than that. So there's a lot to look forward to for the Patriots for sure.
And we were saying too, like they got a great set of veterans and a great set of young players.
Yeah, I know they had that good blend this year of like the youth, but also your upperclassmen leadership between your juniors and seniors.
I tell you, there's a lot that Ward Melville has to look forward to.
Yeah, no doubt. Again, the arrow is only trending upward for the Patriots. So we definitely want to congratulate them on a really good season, even though it didn't end the way that they had hoped. But I guess we'll move on now to the second game of the day. And Jack, can you contain yourself as we break down the Class B county final between West Hampton and Smithtown West? Can you contain yourself?
I think so.
Yeah, for anyone that doesn't know, Jack, he has family in the West Hampton community. So we let you watch that game, Jack, as a spectator, which is the right thing to do. You watch that game with your family, and I would say you were pretty happy with the outcome, wouldn't you say? Just a little bit.
I was very happy with the outcome, and I'm telling you, I'm not done with this team yet. I'm not all we still got some work to do.
That's
I love it.
That's the way you got to be as a fan of the Canes, and that's the way they got to be thinking. There's more work to be done. There's more games to be played. As West Hampton, they punched their ticket to the Long Island Championship. Pretty fitting too. The first time in 4 years. The last time they were in the LIC
is a rematch of
the last time they were
maybe the best game that the LILJ has ever covered.
Yeah, that's a game for the ages. Yeah, TJ, 4 years ago, your Class B LIC was West Hampton and Garden City in a game that went 6 overtimes. 6 OTs.
Oh, my God.
Pulling that one out in the end 4 years ago. I remember like it was yesterday. Isabella Blanco with the game-winning 8-meter goal.
That's what they need to do on Sunday. If to those who've been following the NHL playoffs with the Carolina, about every home game they have a fan like rolling the cane, like
yeah.
Maybe they got to get Bella Blanco to come and do that.
Cool. That's a good call. That's a good call. You got to bring back a hometown hero.
Ellis, did you say 6 overtimes?
That's right. 6 overtimes. You heard me.
I hear that and I automatically think, I'm like, wow, I really hope that wasn't a flat fee for the officials. Please tell me they were getting paid hourly.
They basically ref 2 games.
Oh, God bless them.
I mean, the overtime periods are short. What are they? 4 minutes?
Yeah, they're shorter. They're 3 minutes, but still,
we like to over exaggerate a little bit, Jack.
So especially on a day like that, I'm pretty sure it was like sweltering heat. So, still, they were working overtime for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure they were.
As for this year's county championship, I mean, West Hampton, they're on some kind of run here. We know that they were in a little bit of a lull during the season.
They were on a 5-game losing streak at one point.
Yeah, five-game losing streak, but they turned it around at the tail end of the regular season. And they've carried that momentum throughout the playoffs, knocking off Comswag in the opening round, then taking down the top-seeded West Islip Lions in your semifinal, and then beating Smithtown West in the county championship and beating them 13-9. And that was a game where, obviously, Jack, like, when you're watching as a fan, I'm sure, like, you're hoping that they can build as big of a lead as possible. So you may not have been, like, content with, like, a 3 or 4 goal lead, or if you're a parent on that sideline too. But as someone that was covering this game, especially in the second half, it just kind of looked like West Hampton, they weren't taking their foot off the gas, and they were not going to lose that game based on the way that they played in that second half, because the first half was pretty even.
Back and forth. It was just back and forth the entire first half.
Yeah, it really was. I thought a key turning point, though, was towards the end of the second quarter, because Smithtown West was up 6-5.
Oh, yeah.
West Hampton. Yeah, Tierney McEntee. She ends up scoring in the closing seconds of the second quarter, which tied the game. And I thought that was a big momentum boost for them going into halftime. And I thought that they really kind of carried that over into the third quarter. And that, in my opinion, was a huge difference that helped propel them to the win. Because in the second half, West Hampton, you would say they were pretty dominant in that game.
They were pretty. It went 9-6 and 9. It went 9-6. You know, to open up the second half. That was a 3-goal run. Then it went 9-7. Then West Hampton again, I think, ended up being 12-7.
Yes,
it should have been 13-7, but then that goal got waved off.
Yeah, that moment happened. So there was a goal that got taken away, but they did end up getting to 13. But yeah, so their largest lead in that game was 5 goals. So like they kind of had command there in the second half. And I thought Ava Derby, the 2026 committed to Maryland, boy, did she have a spectacular
1 and 5.
defense. Yup, 5 assists. So she was doing a great job of setting up teammates and players that were the benefactors.
Maya Bogle
plays. Yup, Maya Bogle, Tierney McEntee, Regan Schindler, Mia Mastro Piero. Like it was just a well-rounded offensive effort for West.
And you cannot forget the 8th grader, Kenzie Clammer, in there.
Yep, of course.
You cannot let her go off.
Say again?
You cannot let her go off, because when she scored, she just.
Yeah, I mean, she adds, again, as an 8th grader, she just adds a whole nother element to that West Hampton offense.
When she had that assist to tie the game.
Yes.
That just.
The play in transition.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. She was the one that pushed it up the field, and that led to McEntee scoring that goal.
Then in the second half, she had 2 goals in the second half in the third quarter.
Yeah, she finished the game with 3 and 1. But yeah, she was a big part of them having that advantage in the third quarter.
And West Hampton, they've been playing their best lacrosse all season the last 2 games.
Yeah, they've brought their best.
They're really playing as a team.
Yep.
Defensively, they've been really looking good.
Yeah, we were talking about the defense before we started this, but yeah, you hold a team like West Islip to 6 goals, Smithtown West to 9 goals, and a couple of those kind of came late also in the game.
Yeah, and a bunch of 3 positions.
Yeah, exactly.
GC is going to be tested on Sunday.
Oh, no doubt, and they know that.
Both teams really want it.
Look, if you get to the Long Island Championship game, then you're obviously doing something right.
Exactly. When you're a good team that's made at this point, anything could happen.
100%. I mean, look what happened 4 years ago.
Yeah, and 2 years ago, the shocking result with West Islip.
Yeah, West Islip knocking off Garden City 2 years ago. So Garden City, they're one of those teams where like they come in as they're like Goliath basically. And
they're the favorites basically majority of the time.
Yeah, and they come in with a target on their back, and they're one of those teams where, like, if you're the opponent, like, you want to be one of those teams that knocks off like the big bad Garden City Trojans. And again, it's a testament to them because that's how great their programs are and their sports teams are in general. That like it's a big deal whenever they lose a game.
Yeah, I mean Sunday, that's going to be a game to watch.
Yeah. It definitely is. I'm certainly excited for that.
We want to talk about a great weekend at Stony.
Oh yeah, totally. Between tomorrow and Sunday, absolutely. We want to just talk about some Smithtown West standouts.
Ashley Manella.
Yeah, they're seniors who have had great careers for Smithtown West.
The Renkowskis.
Yep, the Renkowskis, Ashlyn and
Marciano kept them in that game.
Marciano in goal. Alyssa Lorfis. I said this to you, Jack.
Polina.
Polina's another one. Marks is a senior. Russo's a senior. So they had a heavy senior class. But yeah, I said this to you, Jack. I think it might have been at Stony Brook that day, or maybe it was the day after. But like one of the things I'm excited about, I can't wait to see Alyssa Lorfis reunited with Kate Theofield.
Oh, that's going to be a great duo to watch at Rutgers.
Yeah,
Rutgers, who had a great season, knocked off Princeton in the opening round of the NCAAs.
Yep.
Then I think I forgot they lost to Maryland. That's right.
Yep. Yes.
In round 2. And for Rutgers, a year like they had this year was a big deal for them.
Oh yeah, that's a huge deal. Knocking off Princeton in the tourney.
That was a huge deal.
Yeah. And Rutgers, they're getting, as we mentioned, Lorfis. They're getting Jolie Weinschreider. You're getting Cangelosi from Sayville. We'll get into them too.
Yeah, Rutgers they had a great day to watch on Sunday.
Yeah.
Hopefully they were there.
Yeah, hopefully they were there, or if not,
just watching.
Yeah, watching from somewhere for sure. But yeah, so let's move on here, and we'll get into now your C game. Speaking of Cangelosi and Sayville, as the Golden Flashes, they keep their undefeated season alive. Jack, I see your camera's off. You good?
Yes.
Okay, just making sure. So, Golden Flashes, they stay unbeaten. They are moving on to the Long Island Championship for the second time in the last 3 years. They beat Harborfields 11-7, and that's a game where I think a lot of people were either surprised and or impressed by Harborfields keeping that game within reach, because Sayville, I was talking with people about this after the game, and their closest game that they played during the season was against Victor. That was a 1-goal game. But if you're talking about teams on the island, their closest game, I think, was Harborfields, which that was a 15-8 game the first time around. Actually, no, excuse me. West Islip, that was their closest.
Yeah, 8-3.
That was 8-3. So that was a 5-goal game. Harborfields was their next closest game at 15-8.
Or actually, I think it was West Hampton, because West Hampton was a 6-goal game.
West Hampton was 6?
Yeah, 13-7.
Yeah, but West Islip was 5, then West Hampton 6.
Yeah, at that point, when it's like 6-7, is it really much of a difference?
Yeah, you understand my point. The point is that the 5-goal game against West Islip, that was their closest game against any team on the island. And if you're winning by 5 goals, like, you're feeling pretty good. So
100%.
Harborfields, not just were they in that game, they had a lead. They were up 4-2. And then it's kind of one of those things where, like, you got to figure out at some point, Sayville's going to flip a switch, like a run is going to come. And sure enough, that's exactly what ended up happening. So they end up getting the win 11-7. But that was very much a game. So I definitely want to give kudos to Harborfields.
I want to mention something about Harborfields. And I saw a post. It was either the team or their athletic department posted something on Instagram. And I totally agree with this. I think Harborfield should use the positives out of this game and for this season overall.
Oh, how can you not?
Nice.
They finished, I think, 13-3 overall, or 13-4 overall. Made the county championship game. Gave Sayville a great fight.
Yep.
And they too have so many young players on this roster.
Yep.
And a new head coach this year.
Yeah, Coach Caridi finishing her first year. They go to the county championship. They were the 2 seed in Class C. And you mentioned
have a lot of freshmen and sophomores in this lineup.
Yeah, Ruddy, Medico, Casey
Clegg,
they'll be back.
Dolezal. Then your upperclassmen that'll be back. I mean,
Taylor Kavanaugh.
Yup, Kavanaugh's back. Kalmar and Net. So they will definitely be a force to be reckoned with. Harbor.
They're coming into the next season with a lot of expectations, I think.
Absolutely. Harper Cleet's another one of their freshmen that'll be back. Good to see her out on the field too. I know she was injured the last few weeks, but she was out there on Sunday. But you're right, Jack. They'll definitely have expectations next year.
Oh, and the biggest, I mean, they are losing one of their big defenders, Devin Slattery.
Yeah, that's definitely a huge blow.
But overall, I think, like, for the most part, they're going to be a great team next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they may be, I mean, we still don't know exactly what's going to happen with everyone, because we also have to see what goes on in the offseason, because you never know with injuries.
Right. Yeah, of course.
Coaching changes. You never know. But they may be the favorites to come out of Suffolk next year in Class C.
Yeah, you never know. It definitely is a possibility. So, yeah, they're a team that you got to figure after making the county final the last couple of years, they're going to be a team where now it's like you kind of expect them to be in the county final at least and potentially vying for Long Island championships, if not more than that. So we'll talk about Sayville now as they move on to the LIC again, second time in the last 3 years, and they stay undefeated. And I mean, Sayville, if we're starting with their offense, I mean, they're just so well-rounded. Of course, like we talk about their horses.
Obviously, Buffardi, McNamara.
Yeah, but Buffardi, McNamara, Farrell. I thought Olivia Rosano, she's putting together a really great season for Sayville at attack. I mean, we've talked about before DeSimone, and you mentioned Farrell, Jack, as like kind of the unsung heroes or like the glue players for Sayville.
DeSimone this year has been playing more defense than offense.
Yeah, she
last year she was a big offensive.
Yeah, this year she's definitely spending more time on defense, but again, the sentiments remain the same.
They're more capable of having players like Olivia Rosano and, you know, some of those other middies more capable of playing that position now.
Right. You had a big game from Cangelosi. She was 1-3. And we were talking about Rutgers earlier, so that's another great get for Rutgers.
Sayville does a good job of not having one player just, you know, control their team.
No, it comes at a wide variety of angles. Again, you can have games where it's McNamara leading the scoring. You can have games where it's Buffardi leading the scoring. Sometimes it could be Olivia Rosano. It could be Morgan Farrell. Like they just come at you in waves. And on the draw, obviously with Buffardi, that's a huge X factor. When you have her on the draw, like very rarely is she getting outworked on the draw. So that's always going to be a huge advantage for them going into any game.
Yeah, and for Sayville, they're back, back in the LIC for the second time in the last 3 years. And this team, I think right now, they're number 5 in the national poll, including private schools.
Okay.
I mean, teams are going to want to beat this team.
Yeah, they're another one of those teams where like they have a target on their back, especially when you're undefeated too.
And you know what?
We'll talk about how a team went down on the boys' side in a little while.
Right.
And I was just about to go into that. Just it's so impressive, with everything that you just said, Ellis. With all of the heavy pressure that comes with, again, being undefeated, being the number 1 seed, being as highly regarded as you are as a lacrosse team, is again, everyone wants to beat you. Everyone wants to take you down. Everyone wants to be the one to send you home packing. And I don't know, I'm trying to count how many games Sayville has played this year, including the regular season, but I'd imagine it's been about close to 20 games in a row where Sayville really kind of just takes the whole human aspect of just kind of overthinking and maybe kind of second guessing, and they're just mechanical. They're very robotical. They know how good they are. and they just, the moment that they hit the field, it's, they're down to work, they're ready to go, and they beat you. And it's impressive.
Yeah, they are a well-oiled machine. And I mean, you got to give credit, of course, major credit to Coach Jensen and the job that he's done. I mean, look, like, obviously they have a lot of talent, but the coaching on the sideline, that's a huge reason as to why they are where they are, and the success that they've had the last couple of years. Really, if you go back the last 2 years, because they're going for their second potentially undefeated season and state championship in the last 3 years. Also, too, want to mention, of course, we can't mention Sable without mentioning Julia Lilienthal in net.
Oh, she's been there's been a lot of games this year when they're winning by a lot. So really, like, the saves hasn't been looked at, but in the games they've needed her the most, she really has been playing at her best.
Yeah, absolutely. She's one of those goalies where, like, I would take her on my team at any day of the week in a big game.
I think against West Islip, when we were talking about that, how that was their closest game in the regular season, and I think she had 8 or 9 saves.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And she only gave up 3. Penfield, I think I remember too. She had near the double-digit save numbers.
Yeah,
when they needed her the most, she's really played at her best.
Absolutely, there's no doubt about it.
And like I said, a lot of their games they're winning handily, and they're not always looking how many saves she need.
Yeah, she's one of those goalies where you can't look at the total number of saves. Like, you have to be there and or you have to be watching the games just to see how good she is in net and stepping up in the big games, as you said, Jack, when they need her the most.
We call that quality over quantity, Ellis.
Exactly.
Quality over quantity. That's it.
That's exactly what it is. Again, Julia Lilienthal, she could play on my team any day of the week. So we can transition now, I guess, to the final game of the weekend, and another game that is near and dear to Jack's heart.
Not as much this one.
I know, but still, you have ties to one of the teams that were on the field. So that was your Class D game. That was Bayport and Babylon. And Bayport, those Phantoms are back in a Long Island championship game for the second straight year. This is the third time now in the last 4 years.
Actually, we can go deeper before that because
that is true.
So since 2019, you got 1, 2, 3, 4. Because that's right. Because they're 6th time out of the last 7 years.
Yeah, even larger of a sample size. This time of the Class D variety.
This class 2019 was when they started that big run.
Right. So yeah, this time they're in the DLIC. But hey, A, B, C, D. If you're in the LIC, obviously you're doing something right. So congratulations to the Phantoms. Again, another deep playoff run as they beat Babylon 13-9. But that was very much a game, Jack. I mean, you and I were on the sideline, and there were moments where it looked like Babylon definitely had a chance. They gave Bayport everything that they could handle, and I think it started on the draws. That was one of the things that we talked about going into the game, where the draws could be a big advantage for Babylon with Peyton Loeb Boyd.
And it showed you how we kind of had a feeling that was going to be Bayport's biggest weakness going in.
Yeah, that was one of those things where they'd have to overcome potentially having a disadvantage on the draw circle. And sure enough, they were able to do it. But that's really what kept Babylon in the game.
And we saw them when Bayport took a 10-8 lead in the fourth quarter. They switched and they put because they were running out. Was it Charlotte or Abby Bishop, the sophomore?
Say again.
Which Bishop is the sophomore? Is it Abby or Charlotte?
Charlotte's the sophomore.
They were using Charlotte Bishop for majority of the game. Then they switched after when Bayport took the 10-8 lead, and they put the freshman Layla Rogers at the draw circle, which she really, I think she lost. I only made one draw, and because Bayport, I think she went 4 for 5.
Yeah, that was the difference right there. Making that switch and going with Rogers, that's kind of what ended up sealing the game, because Yeah, Logue Boyd, she was really controlling the draw circle for Babylon. And again, that's kind of what was keeping them in that game. But you got to give kudos to the Phantoms coaching staff, Coach Gick, Coach Maloney, making that adjustment and putting a freshman on the draws in a
big game.
And she stepped up in a big way. And that's how they were able to kind of get some insurance goals down the stretch to seal the win. Because there were moments in that game where it was like one of those things where there were certain draws that like Babylon had to have if they were going to stay alive in that game. And Rogers coming away with those wins, that was huge in putting them over the top in the end.
Yeah, staying in Babylon, and overall they saw a game from especially the Bush sisters, Delaney and Riley.
Yeah. So in my notes here, Delaney Bush, she had 4, and then Riley, she was 2-1. And you obviously saw them against Mattituck, Jack, and they both had big games.
Oh, both against Mattituck. And Babylon overall, they had. The record was good, but if you look at their standard, they had a good year for their standards.
Absolutely.
They held a lot of those good teams to 1-2 goal games.
Yep. They beat Mount Sinai.
Beating Sinai was a huge insurance win.
Yep. They were right there with West Hampton, with Shoreham in the county championship game. So you're definitely right, Jack. Like they definitely had a season to be proud of.
And putting, in the coaching staff too, coming from Ryan, Coach Giovoli, and they added Coach Rella to the staff.
Yeah, which that was a huge difference, particularly in that semifinal game against Mattituck on the offensive side.
And they had her too for the championship.
Right, exactly, and they were in that game. They were very much in that game.
And Babylon, that program's got a lot to be proud of.
Yes.
Yeah, and you know what, Jack? It'll be really up to them to see how they build off of the momentum here, right? Because we just got done talking about Sachem North, who just won, double-digit games last year for the first time in over a decade. What did they do the following year? They followed it up, and they're hoisting the Suffolk County plaque about it playing.
And mentioning too, Babylon had a great atmosphere too for both the boys and the girls.
I'm sure they did. It's a great community over there.
Smaller school, but
love it. I love it. But it'll be interesting to see how Babylon.
Yeah.
Jack, were you tempted to take your shirt off and join the fans?
That was funny too when they had the shirts.
The exclamation point.
Yeah, unfortunately they couldn't bring the big beat in because of obviously because of this going in through security at Stony Brook.
No, they definitely brought the energy for sure.
Oh, they brought the energy. They couldn't bring the big beat like they do at some of those big home games.
But yeah, so that'll kind of wrap up the county championship coverage for Suffolk over the weekend.
We get the Nassau boys, which
I'm
thinking we're gonna do the Class B game last.
You want to do that one last?
Yeah, because I think that that deserves.
All right. So then we'll start then with the second game from Monday night. We'll start with the C game. So we'll start with
Southside.
Yeah, we'll start there. So Wantagh, they beat Southside 15-7. So they are once again advancing to the Long Island Championship. That's
third year in a row.
Yep. A three-peat for Wantagh, winning the series.
And now they're trying to defend their LIC title for 2 straight years.
Yep, going for their second straight Long Island Championship victory. So as we mentioned earlier, of course, they're going to be playing Sayville. But in the county final to get to that game, again, Wantagh is one of those teams where they just have a number of stud offensive weapons.
Passion, Nicholson, Luke Martini, Carter Loftman.
Yep. Jacobello had a big game.
Jacobello.
He was 3-2. He delivered a huge game. Sean Stacklick, he had 3 goals, so he had a hat trick. But again, Wantagh, they're a team that they can beat you offensively because they have so many different weapons.
And mentioning to Southside, and I have the stats from the BLAX website. Alec Nataro,
I saw that,
lost only 2 faceoffs that entire game.
Yeah, he was 20 for 22. So think about that. you were 20 of 22, and the final score was 15-7.
That's like unheard of. And we'll talk about another face-off domination in a little bit.
Yeah. But this is more drastic, though, because you win 20 out of 22 and you lose by 8. The other game, which we'll get into, he was, I believe, 20 for 21, and they lost in overtime. So, like, that makes more sense. If you're going to lose but still win all the faceoffs, that makes more sense.
Honestly, to dominate the faceoff X and not even, lose by more than a handful of goals is borderline unheard of.
Yeah.
It's, like, really hard to do.
Yeah, and I thought Southside had chances, to be honest. And we saw like the flags, Jack. Like, I'm sure
there were so many flags in that game.
Yeah, but I think the calls were correct. Let's be clear. Like, I think the calls were correct. I think Wantagh, they would like their defense to be a little more disciplined. Because I think Southside, they had plenty of man-up opportunities and just weren't able to cash in.
Pissarro, who had a big day.
Part of that was Gianni. I mean, he had 16 saves. So you got
a great year. He's having a great year in between the pipes for Wantagh. And you know what? That defense has been excellent all year long to go with it.
Pat Forhofer.
Yeah.
With Jake Stankenbrink.
Yeah.
Wantagh is really a team that is super talented and super athletic at all 3 levels of the field. And you know what? They really just showcased it again in this game. They're kind of, especially on offense, we've talked about them numerous times on this show. And you know what? They just keep proving that, like, they're a borderline unstoppable unit. And you know what? The very few times that they may turn it over or the opposing goalie makes a save, you're not even out of the woods after that, because they're probably just going to go steal it from you on the ride and go dunk it anyway.
Yep. Yeah,
they're just
lethal.
They play a different style of ball than the majority of the teams that they play. And I think that's actually why they are as good as they are. Is they just play so much faster than the opposition. And a lot of it has to do with how good they are between the ears. I think those kids really have great IQ on them. And this was just a dominating performance by Wantagh.
Yeah, it really was. And again, just think, like, if the defense didn't have all those penalties that gave Southside man-up opportunities, like, who knows what the score could have been possibly.
Yeah, and especially, going into the Long Island Championship here, and further on, if they get a win tomorrow, I think that's probably the area of the field that they probably feel the need to tighten up a little bit. If they're kind of weighing out, what's going to prevent them from hoisting a state championship or not. I think the defense, that unit, probably knows that they just kind of have to tighten it up a little bit, right. Because that offense could score 15 plus any given day whenever they want to with that firepower that they have.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, so we'll transition now. So we'll go to the next day because we'll save the other game for last. So the D County Championship was Cold Spring Harbor and Locust Valley, and CSH winning that game 12-2. So the Seahawks back in another familiar spot, and they'll be playing in the Long Island Championship game against Bayport. And for CSH, they just kind of go about their business. It's just a workman's-like mentality. Coach Bond always has his boys ready to play, and they came out. They knew that they have bigger aspirations than just winning the county championship, looking to bring home another state title, and they will be doing so, or at least they advance to the next step in doing so, taking on the Phantoms this weekend. But Cold Spring Harbor, they're one of those teams where, if we talk about the face-off X, Alex Vitale, starting with him, because we were talking about this before we recorded. It's like, we kind of made a joke, TJ, but it's like, have we seen him lose a face-off? Like, he loses maybe 1 or 2 a game, it seems like, and that's it. So he's
Ellis,
getting
Ellis, I feel like I've covered this team a good 3 or 4 times, and I feel like each game I show up, it's like the number one thing on my agenda. I'm like, I just need to prove that he's human. Just lose one.
And TJ, you did, I know, the Farmingdale, you did the Southside game. Did you do?
Yes, I did another one. I can't remember off the top of my head.
You came to Syosset.
Syosset, yes, the first game of the season.
You did come to Cold Spring for a little bit for that Games for Brains, but they didn't play that day.
Yes. So, I've seen them play a couple times, and he's really the kickstart, of all the really the stud offensive players that they have on that offense. You have Matty Kamer in the net, you have studs on defense. And
Dennis
I think
sophomore.
Yeah. And I think Alex Vitale is really the kickstart to this team, because we've used this analogy before, but it's kind of like make it take it in 1v1 basketball. Alex Vitale just keeps funneling possessions to one of the better offenses, if not the top offense in Class D. And it almost starts to feel a little unfair, Ellis.
Yeah, I mean, look, when you're possessing the ball and just like dominating time of possession, it's really hard to lose games like that. And that's why they've had it's part of the reason why anyway, they've had such a great season, is because Vitale's been getting that offense the ball a lot. But even still, again, Cold Spring Harbor, their defense too is also like always one of the top units on the island. Like they're one of those teams that I kind of always picture them as like defense first. And we've talked about it before. Teams like CSH, Farmingdale, Port Washington, like they are always going to be in games because of their defensive identity as well. And yes. Cold Spring Harbor and Coach Bond, like they have no problem winning a game like 4-3 if they have to. Like they'll do that too if they have to. And
Coach Bond wants the scoreboard to look like a hockey score every time Cold Spring Harbor plays.
Exactly.
Yeah, this year I think they did play in that game against Rye. I think it was like 12-11 or 11-10.
Yeah, so that game was a shootout for CSH.
They usually don't see. I mean, for them, you don't see both teams in double digits.
Right. Yeah. Usually they're winning games of like
Manhasset too. I think was like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So there's a couple of exceptions, but typically they're winning games of like the lower scoring variety. And talking about the defense in the county championship, Dennis Kiley, he was awesome. He was kind of looking like a man amongst boys, in my opinion, in that game against Locust Valley. I mean, between his ability to take the ball away, jar possessions free from the opponent, he came up with the ground balls. He scored in that game too, did he not?
I think he had a goal. I could take it.
Yeah, I think he did. He did. I remember. He scored in that game also. So he just played an all-around game, and Kylie only a sophomore. So, again, he's another one of those 28s to look out.
Yeah, he had a goal.
Yeah, I remember. I remember because he started with the ball when it touched the offensive side, and they worked it around, and he ended up getting it back.
And to Locust Valley, their biggest standout was their goaltender, Grayson Iannati, who
16 saves.
That's how much it was. I knew it was up there.
Yeah, he ended up with 16 saves.
Does anyone know what year he is?
Iannati's a 26, I believe. But let me double check.
He's on his way out.
I'll double check.
Which is a shame because he's a great player.
Oh, no, 28.
Oh, 28.
So, yeah, we got 2 more years.
He's in our wheelhouse for another 2 years, Ellis. You hear that? Of coverage. I love it.
But yeah, you're right, Jack. Like he definitely kept them in that game like as best he could, seeing a ton of shots. I mean, posting 16 saves. Like there's not much more you can ask for from your goaltender. So yeah, he was certainly a standout for Locust Valley. But yeah, Cold Spring Harbor, they'll be back in another LIC. So we'll be seeing them tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon rather.
He's got already 500 saves in his career.
500?
Wow. Yeah.
Wow.
Because they posted his 500 saves.
Hey, good for him.
Wow.
That's 500 already in his.
Yeah, Vitali, by the way, he was 14 of 15 at the X. So another day where lost one face-off.
Until you show me the video of him losing, I don't believe it.
Locust, I mean,
Wow.
for a while, they were, some of this, I mean, obviously Vianati and some of their shot, I mean, it was like, maybe we'll have somewhat of a game.
Yeah, look, it's just the Cold Spring Harbor, their ride too was also a big difference because they were really preventing Locust Valley from being able to clear the ball a lot, especially in the first half. So like the possessions offensively for Locust Valley were rather limited. So that was also a huge difference in the game. But again, Cold Spring Harbor, they advanced to the LIC, and we'll be seeing them tomorrow evening. Now we'll kind of transition here to the A game, and that was Massapequa and Syosset, your 1 versus 2. But this time around, it was the 2-seeded Massapequa Chiefs making a statement.
I can't believe it's still in. I covered their last regular season game between those two teams, which was, the last day of the regular season. And TJ, you picked that hot take.
Yeah, that's right. Let's bow down to TJ.
Oh,
did they win?
Did they win states already? And I not know it. Did they win states? It's on.
Well,
it's
they didn't
not
win.
Confirmed.
Then I mentioned the hot take too. Then I did mention a hot take to Asai, and I won't say the player's name because to keep his privacy.
Yeah.
And he's like, we're gonna beat them in the chip too.
Yeah, that was just one of those things where obviously the regular season game left a bad taste in the mouths of Massapequa, losing that game. But they came out in the county championship and left no doubts as to who the top team is in Nassau Class A.
I'm sure the message was, we are not going to let them do this to us twice.
Of course. Yeah, that's the way.
Sure that was what their motivation was.
Yeah, that's the way.
And remember, Syosset opened the game, scoring.
Yeah, they scored the first goal.
And then I was like, oh, we're going to get another one of those games. Because what I did, it was 2-2, like less than 2 minutes in.
Yeah.
And you know what? I just think Syosset kind of just walked through a cheese grater a little bit. Like, I just think Massapequa was just ready in a different way than Syosset could have ever been ready for this lacrosse game. We just brought up about how they, had the heartbreaker against Syosset, in the regular season finale. But I know I was there for their first round or their semifinal game against Port Washington at Hofstra. And I'm sure if you were
to ask Farmingdale.
They played Port.
No, they
Port
played
Washington.
Farmingdale in the semis.
No,
Syosset had
Syosset played Farmingdale.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Syosset.
But I think even for that game, I think a lot of that Massapequa staff and even a lot of the players in that locker room, if they were on this pod right now, I think they'd be the first to admit that they probably didn't play their best game that day. And especially within the second and third quarters, like really the middle of that game against Port Washington, it felt like they kind of let Port Washington back into the game a little bit, where we're on the sidelines covering it and we were kind of biting our nails. It started to kind of really get close towards, the third quarter. And, I'm sure Massapequa really just kind of looked at themselves in the mirror, looked around it, looked at each other, and they said, what kind of team do we want to be? We have 2 of the top 3 point scorers in Nassau County in the locker room. We have a great goalie and a great defense in the locker room. We have a great face-off guy. We have all the pieces we need. What kind of team do we want to be? That's the team that they can be, that the Chiefs can be when they want to be. And if they bring even a sliver of that tomorrow, Sachem North could be in for a day.
Yeah, their offense is just ridiculous. You'll take their offense against anybody, but the way they played in that game, like that's as complete of a performance as you'll see. Scoring 19 goals, only allowing 5, and look, you lost the regular season game, so you could win the county championship, I guess. Like sometimes you need losses like that
Yeah, I'm going to talk to you about us from a source, I know from the Bayport 2024 state championship team, and saying that the one positive about one thing, even though you never want to lose.
Oh yeah,
they lost to Comswag, if you remember, in overtime that year,
yep.
and
that's right.
That loss kind of fired the team up in a better way.
Yup.
Jack, who'd they lose to?
Your Comswag boys in 2024.
Oh, sorry.
Their only
I didn't
loss,
hear you.
Speaking from a source I know from that team, that loss definitely brought motivation for them.
No doubt.
Yeah, it has to.
Sometimes, sure. And we were saying too, sometimes winning all the time isn't always a great thing.
Yeah, you never know, because like
maybe Pequot used that regular season loss, and maybe at the end of the day they needed it.
Totally.
You never want to lose, but you may be saying to yourselves now, maybe we wouldn't be this confident if we didn't lose that game.
Yeah, look, you'd rather lose that game if it means you're going to win the county championship in convincing fashion the way they did.
And this is talking about sports at all levels, from professional sports, collegiate sports, high school.
Yeah, like sometimes a loss is like the wake-up call that you need.
Sometimes, like we were talking about earlier this year about the St. Anthony's girls when they lost their first game in 3 years almost.
Yeah.
How when they're not used to lose, I mean, it definitely was something that, like, how do you handle it? And it definitely was a great wake up for them.
Yeah, totally. And look, there were standouts all over the field. Just want to run through my notes really quickly. I mean, Wieserek, he was 3-5, so he had 8 points.
I think Rocco was 6-1.
Yeah, Rocco was 6-1. Tyler Burns was 1-5. Jake Burns was 1-3. Ryan Chabas at the faceoff X, he was 18 for 26. The defense, which I thought was fantastic for Massapequa, between Brady and Casey Gilchrist, Dom Antonelli as a D midi, Ippolito, also one of their long poles, Justin Farrell. Like, the defense was absolutely dialed for Massapequa. I mean, again, we saw the offensive display that they put on, which they've done that many a times this season. But that defensive performance, just looking at it on the surface, that's got to be their best defensive performance all season, easily.
And no doubt. And like I said, Pequot definitely didn't want that day to be like last time when those two teams faced.
Yeah, exactly.
And like I even said too, like even about like, look, were we trying to promote teams wanting to lose? No,
of course not.
No, but we're just showing how sometimes those nail biter losses.
Yeah, like it can
motivate a team, like I mentioned with better in the long run. 24 and with St. Anthony's girls.
Yeah, like sometimes it makes you better in the long run. But yeah, so we'll get to the final game now. The final county champion, well, not the final, but the last one that we got to break down. So, Jack, you wanted to save this one for last, and that was GC against Manhasset, the Woodstick Classic, but the playoff edition
of it. Which, I mean, they don't have the whole Woodstick ceremony.
Yeah, we know. No.
They should bring that. They should bring the Woodstick to the Nassau County Championship game.
To the whole personal part of it, but after that Woodstick game was Garden City basically ran Manhasset off the field that day.
Yeah, and then look what happened
after that game. We know that we're not going to get into the whole personnel, but we knew that they were, like, of course, upset about it and definitely did not want to let that happen again.
Yeah, look, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, but you can get some revenge if you're lucky enough to play them again.
Yeah, and we were saying too, like, maybe they needed that in the longer run, because that could have been a huge wake up call. Right.
Yeah. Look, the way they played back on Monday, I mean, they looked like a completely different team than when they played like 3 weeks ago, a month ago.
And it, like, another example of showing how, like, maybe that was their wake up call.
Yeah. So, like, we got to give major credit to Manhasset.
Oh, and Coach Armstrong.
Yep, Coach Armstrong and the boys pulling off a huge win.
I mean, a game that national fans were interested in.
Yeah, look, when you're playing a team that's in the national rankings and at or towards the top, like
number one in the public school poll.
Yeah, and anytime they go down, it's going to be a huge story. So Manhasset winning an absolute thriller in overtime.
And 8-6 with less than 2 minutes to go, and I was just telling someone I could see GC. All they need a goal. They need a face-off win by Robertiello.
And
it happened.
That's exactly what happened. As we're dialing up the live, you have the ensuing face-off after they made it 8-7, and right away, bang, they got the game-tying goal. Robertiello off the clean face-off win, and with the assist to Charlie Coster. And in that moment, God, I can only imagine what Manhasset has to be thinking. Like, no way that this has just happened, because it looked like they might be in the driver's seat. Like, they had a clutch insurance goal by Tommy Kasalakis. They went up 8-6, and then you're thinking like, okay, like that might be it. But you said it, Jack. Obviously, like when you have a face-off guy like Braden, if you score a goal to cut it to 1, there's a good chance you'll get the ball back with another crack to tie it.
Yeah, then thinking about it too. What was I thinking about it too? And want to get to the overtime about the controversy, which if Garden City won that game, there could have been a lot of social media controversy about it.
Maybe.
And
yeah, so
apparently the first overtime goal, Will Mondiello, they called it in the crease by people were thinking it wasn't in the crease.
Yeah, there were some people that were thinking he wasn't. I'd have to go back and check again.
I'm going to try to do the same thing, but like if Garden City ended up winning that game,
yeah, look,
I'm sure there would have been a lot of heat about it.
Yeah, but I left that game thinking like the better team that day won the game.
I think so too.
Manhasset deserved to win that game. Like that would have been, look, if Garden City pulled that game out, would have been great for them. That would have been a cruel way to go out though for Manhasset if they didn't win that game. So I thought the better team that day deserved to win. And it took overtime.
And talking another defense wins championships.
Yeah, the Manhasset.
Talking about to have defense, especially Kip Zachariah.
Yep.
Who's having a great year coming off. Last year was out the whole year with an ACL injury.
Yep, he was fantastic. Lindbergh in the net.
Michael DiPietro, who in the semifinal game, and from our guy Jared, he apparently left the game with an injury.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah, TJ was there too. Yep,
he did. And you know what? And it was one of those injuries that even as someone covering the game, I wasn't playing or anything like that. That injury really kind of stuck with me even days afterwards, just because it was one of the worst injuries I've seen on a lacrosse field in my time around the sport. And I couldn't help but, a couple of days later, Manhasset goes and takes down, upsets arch rival Garden City.
DiPietro, he played.
And he played. And you know what?
And you got to think, too, how brave he was to play. And he's like, if I'm all right, I got to play in the biggest game of the season.
Yeah. And you know what? I think you're right, Jack. I think it's reflective of just how much heart not only does Mike DiPietro have, but the rest of this Manhasset team have. To see a longtime friend, brother, teammate down on the turf like that for an extended period of time, a day or two right before you're about to go play in the Nassau County Championship game. I can't even imagine the swirl of emotions that, those kids, those coaches, those families kind of went through within, a 24 to 48 hour period. But whatever they went through, they came out on top. And it's because they stuck together. It's because they believed in one another. It's because, they weren't going to be denied that day. Mike DiPietro wasn't going to be denied that day.
Oh, no, he's like, I'm playing.
Yeah, and you know what? I think it's a story, to be really honest with you. Like, that's a great sports story.
And when I saw he was playing, I was like, he's playing in this game?
Yeah.
I don't know what exactly what happened, and obviously because of obviously that's personal health issues. We're not going to get into that.
Right, but still, yeah. TJ was there the night he went down, so he saw the scene. So obviously, it had to be like something seismic to get carried off like that, and for him to play just
like 4 days later, 4 or 5 days later.
Yeah,
and was a big standout in that win.
Yeah.
And I mean, Manhasset, they really played as a team that day.
Yeah, they did.
There was no one player who just just went off. It was a team-wide performance.
Totally. And Tommy Leader, we got to talk about him scoring the game winner. The game winner in overtime with 6 seconds left. And Mondiello had the assist, I believe. But Leader coming up clutch. I mean, talk about a moment that he'll never forget.
This game is going to be talked about for years.
Yeah. That kind of reminded me of the game from a few years ago. Actually, more than a few years ago. I believe this was 2019, maybe. Was that when Manhasset beat GC in overtime in the county championship?
Yeah, I think so.
Joey Terenzi had the game winner, I want to say.
Yeah,
we're really going back.
Yeah, because this was
a couple years ago.
It's before I even got involved, but I've just seen videos here and there.
Yeah.
They've had some epic playoff games the last number of years.
I mentioned the face-offs that day from Braden Robertiello. I think he lost one face-off.
Yeah, he lost one.
Still couldn't.
He was 20 for 21.
And you got to feel it for that kid.
Yeah, I know. Like, look, fortunately, he's back next year. So they'll be in a great position again to be back in contention.
It feels like the Woodstick in 2023 a little bit when Cal Gerard, who I think you did say was in attendance for that Manhasset GC game on Monday night.
Yeah.
Like when he dominated the face-off X, which they did win that game still in overtime, but it had that just feeling again when someone's just dominating at the draw.
Yeah. Yeah. And Jack, you owe a certain someone.
Oh, to Tyler Kretzer.
No, I guess no. I wasn't gonna mention his name, but you owe Tyler a steak dinner.
No, I'll tell you that atmosphere from Manhasset. Oh, the student section.
Oh yeah, the student section was live. We definitely got to talk about at a separate time, just like some of the best atmospheres, because there's a handful I can think of from this season alone. But Manhasset, they packed out Hofstra back on Monday night. And again, look, the other teams had great fans too, but we just kind of give the perspective of who we're closest to.
Yep, Massapequa, Sachem North.
Right.
Those two were definitely up there.
Yeah. So Manhasset, they'll be moving on. Just an epic game. That's a game that will go down in the history books in the Manhasset community for quite some time. We wanted to save that one for last. I like where your head's at with that, Jack. So
good pick, Jack.
Yeah, so that kind of wraps up just covering the county finals, but we'll stay on board here just for a few more minutes. We don't want to drone on like we have for almost 2 hours, but we'll just talk about the LICs coming up. So we got the boys tomorrow.
We got our picks.
University. So we start off your first game. That's your B game. So that's Manhasset, Smithtown East. Just anyone want to give any thoughts just on the game?
I personally think this game. I think Smithtown East has a shot? I do think they do. I don't think this is going to be Manhasset just wiping them out of it. And the biggest thing is, how will Manhasset respond just a few days after beating GC?
Yeah, it's like you're riding the highs of beating.
Now it's like you're right back to work.
Yeah, now it's like, okay, like we still have more lacrosse to be played here. Totally.
And I definitely think now for Smithtown East, I think they were expecting to play Garden City.
You could be right.
I think the thing is too, and this is I think a part that we're missing, is how many times do we watch a team in sports, no matter what sport it is, no matter what level it is, they go and play Goliath in the semifinal, they go take them down, and then they have a letdown in the championship game because they kind of used all of their emphasis,
exerted all their energy
on the semifinal game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're Manhasset, I think your main focus has to be last game was last game. We got to turn the page, right? We're not bringing the county championship plaque on the bus. We're not talking about it. We're done thinking about it.
If I was their coach, I'd be like,
we're focused on Smithtown East now, and there's more road to this journey for this Manhasset team.
Oh, I
So
totally agree.
Yeah,
I thought
and I think
coach, I'd be like too. No, we got to forget. I mean, look, we can remember that game all we want, but we need to focus now on Smithtown East.
and I think
Because they
if
probably
you're if you're Smithtown East, you kind of just have to keep doing the things that you've been doing well all year. I think you have to keep being a really high productive offense. You have to keep capitalizing on the extra mans, the extra second chance opportunities. You got to contest the face-off X in this game. And you know what? And CJ Stein and company, they have a really nice test tomorrow against an excellent Manhasset offense. So, most championship teams go as far as the defense and the goalie is willing to take them. And I have a feeling Smithtown East is going to be along the same lines here.
Oh, they want to win this game, no doubt.
No doubt.
Of course. Yeah, 100%. I'm very much looking forward to that game. And like Manhasset, Smithtown East, like those are two teams just like based on the conferences that they've been in. Like you don't have that familiarity with
the very odd matchup.
Yeah, it's kind of like off the grid a little bit. With
100%
being in A's all these years.
Yeah,
Manhasset going up and down between B and C. So
that's a good point, Ellis. That's a really good point.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those odd matchups, but I'm really excited for that.
Like you said, Manhasset, like, look, I mean, obviously you got the big win, but there's more work to be done.
Yeah, for sure. So that's game one. Then game two is your C game.
I'm interested for that C game too.
Yeah,
both teams have very talented offenses.
Yep. It's a rematch too from football.
Football, which
anyone that follows football, I'm sure those kids know each other.
Sayville does have some kid. I mean, Wantagh is pretty much the same team.
Mm-hmm.
Sayville does have some, football specialists who aren't playing lacrosse, or some who are lacrosse players but not football players.
Mm-hmm.
But they still got a lot of the same players too. This kind of reminds me a little bit like East Islip Southside 2 years ago, when basically it was the same teams going against each other.
Right.
I mean, honestly, I can't think of a scarier choice. Either having to meet Luke Martini in the A gap during the fall, or having to cover him one-on-one in the spring downhill. They both of those seem pretty horrible and pretty horrifying. I'm not gonna lie.
And then in the LIC, it was, Carter Loftman, who threw for, I think, a good 200 something yards that day, and Passion was a big target.
He's in a class of his own, Devin Passion. I think really what makes him so special is really that he's just so well-rounded. And we brought this up earlier with Wantagh, is just as good as they are offensively, my favorite part about them is how well they bust their tail on the ride. Those three attackmen just love to get on their horse, and they just love to wreak havoc on the ride. And they are one of the best teams really on all of Long Island in terms of forcing turnovers, in their offensive zone, and then, getting second chance, third chance opportunities out of them. So, I think for this game going in, Wantagh really just has to be Wantagh. And that sounds super simple. If it does, it's because it is that simple. Wantagh is just, they don't need to change anything about their game. Just play to their strengths, play to their identity. This is going to be a really, really good game. What do you think, Alex?
The biggest, advantage for Sayville in that game is with the face-offs with Sean Casey, which, definitely. Even in the Southside Wantagh game, we could talk all we want about how Alec Notaro dominated the face-offs, but Wantagh was that was nothing.
Yeah, look, if Wantagh gives up the same amount of, let's say, man-up chances that they did against Southside, then Sayville is definitely going to have a chance to hang with them offensively. So, again, the defense, they'll definitely want to clean up the penalties if you're Wantagh. And, yeah, I agree, Jack. Sean Casey at the face-off X, he should be able to get Sayville plenty of offensive possessions. It's just with Gianni Pissarro in the net for Wantagh, who's had a great season.
Yeah, that's their biggest advantage in Wantagh. But Troy Cowder, I will say, has definitely been playing really at the beginning of the season. He was a sophomore who really didn't have the experience.
Yeah, but you gained that
thrown in,
experience.
but he gained it throughout the season, and he's really stepped up. And I think when I covered him against Smithtown East, I think he had like 16, 17 saves.
Mm-hmm.
So he was he gained his confidence throughout the season.
Yeah. I can honestly, I could see that game being a shootout. Like
I'm thinking like a 17-13 Wantagh game.
Ellis, I think you're right. I think you're right.
We're gonna need all hands on deck with the with the coverage for
the
this
video.
Yeah, there could be plenty of goals in this one.
And I think, Ellis, you hit the nail on the head. Wantagh defensively has to stay out of the box because Javen Taff, Tristan Vitale, Batterberry, like these kids will make you hurt on the extra man. You know, these kids can see the field, they can shoot. They have great IQ, great offensive awareness. So, you know, if Wantagh doesn't buckle down on day, I think you're right, Ellis. We really could be in for quite a shootout here. Yeah,
definitely. So that'll be your second game on the day. Then game 3 is your D game. So that's CSH and Bayport. And you mentioned earlier, Jack, that game, that's a rematch from 2011?
11, yeah, 15 years.
Yup.
And Bayport won, and they made it to the state championship that year.
Yeah, so Bayport looking for a little bit of history repeating itself all these years later. CSH, again, they've been very familiar with playing in Long Island championship games here. And I think the most seasoned person of all, when you factor in both sides, has to be Coach Bond for CSH. I mean, he will certainly have his boys prepared. Plenty of the players on these teams, obviously, especially for CSH, have LIC experience. But Coach Bond, he's been around the block more than a time or two, and he will definitely have his boys ready. But what are kind of your guys' thoughts on this game? Because I can kind of see it being the opposite of a Sayville Wantagh, where this game could be
it's going to be on the defensive side, I think, more this game.
Yeah.
I'm going to say no team gets to double digits.
Okay.
I'm feeling like a 9-5 CSH win.
Okay.
That's an interesting take, Jack. I think I like that. I think I agree with you on that, actually.
I think both goalies will be prepared to make a ton of saves.
Yeah, listen, no doubt.
Bayport has to bring it defensively. There's no way around it.
Defensively all year,
and they have been. You know what? They've been riding the coattails of that defense, and they're going to need to do it one more because Cold Spring Harbor has Roy Testa. They have Dylan Riley. They have Rex O'Connor. They're loaded, and you know what? They're one of those very evenly distributed kind of units that any of those players can really take the ball, take their guy on an ISO from the wing or up top or from behind, and they could hurt you. So that's really going to be Bayport's, I think, really main MO in this game is to really try and shut down that Seahawks scoring attack to the best of their ability.
Yeah, I agree. And I think you want to kind of slow the game down too a little bit if you're if you're Bayport. Obviously, it's hard to completely do that with the shot clock, but you want to try to slow the game down as much as possible. Because the other thing too, CSH at the face-off X with Vitale, that's definitely a sizable advantage there going into this game. So that's kind of one of those things where the defense, as you mentioned, TJ, they're really going to have to hunker down and try to limit the scoring opportunities for CSH because time of possession could be something that is in favor of CSH heavily.
I think you're spot on, especially whenever you play a team that is as strong at the faceoff X and as strong on the offensive end as Cold Spring Harbor. You nailed it. You know, you gotta maintain possession. You gotta draw out possessions. You know, you really making sure that you're using the length of the shot clock and really trying to suffocate any sort of momentum that Cold Spring Harbor builds in this game.
Yep. Absolutely.
I agree with you, Alice.
Yeah, so we'll go, I guess now we'll go to game 4.
The Class A game. Yep. I mean, both schools, I am expecting they're going to draw big numbers.
I'm hearing it's sold out, Jack. That's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing actually standing room only.
Standing room only.
For Sachem North, Massapequa.
Is standing on the concourse at SBU?
I think that's what some people are going to have to do. That game should draw a great crowd. Again, it helps too when you have two larger schools playing against each other. But just the atmosphere that the fan bases brought for those two teams in their respective county championship games, it was electric. And this is another one of those games where I feel like I could potentially see a shootout, but also too, like with Pork Chop in the net for Sachem North, that might kind of minimize just a little bit that Massapequa offense that scored 19 against Syosset. With Pork Chop in net, he can maybe neutralize them just a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised if that game was also on the higher scoring end as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, Ellis. Looking at individual matchups, I'm looking right at Luke LaRocca against Rocco Spallina down low on attack.
Or LaRocca.
Because that's really going to be one of the better, most important individual matchups in this game. Spallina being one of Nassau's top point leaders, we've seen what he can do from that left side. So I think, however well Luke LaRocca could kind of manage Spallina in this game, I think we'll tell a lot of the story, how the scoreboard ends up.
By the way, on a side note, club teammates we should mention.
Oh yeah, 91 machine.
Yeah. Yup. Club teammates going head to head.
You think those two have gone against each other enough during practice on the middle of July?
Oh yeah.
So that's what makes club fun, as it makes these kids just that much more familiar with with one another. This is going to be an excellent game. I'm really excited to see that Sachem North offense go up against Massapequa, just because I think Sachem North is humming right now offensively, and I think they are in such a rhythm that I have a hard time believing as of right now that, anything can stop them. So I'm interested to see if that Chief defense has something to say about that. What do you think, E?
Yeah, I mean, the way the defense played against
Justin Farrell, Brady, and Casey Gilchrist.
Yup. The Gilchrist, Farrell, Ippolito, Don Mantinelli as a D midi. Again, the defense was lights out against Syosset. So if they bring that against Sachem North, then look out. It could be a long day for Sachem North, but again, that was kind of like the perfect storm for Massapequa in that game. And look, each team is different, so your tactics going in game to game could be a little bit different depending on certain matchups. But I was very impressed with the Massapequa defense against Syosset. So if the defense is firing on all cylinders, then Pequa will be in great shape. But again, I just have a feeling I could see that game being higher scoring for whatever reason.
I'm feeling like a 15-10 Pequa.
That's your prediction, Jack? 15-10 Pequa? Okay.
Hey, Ellis, how long do you think after the Massapequa Syosset game, do you think John Calabria kind of spent mourning until he realized, he's like, hey, I get to go watch my son as a parent in the stands?
That's a
Saturday.
Great point. That's
I don't have to coach against him again.
That's a great point. Look, obviously he wishes he'd be coaching in that game, but you know what? Now he can go and he can sit back and enjoy it as a spectator. Absolutely. Watching his son Johnny on the field.
I think I know who Syosset's all rooting for.
I'm sure we do.
Yes, Jack. They are. They're rallying behind Coach Calabria and Johnny and Sachem North.
Or if you know what Kingdom Lax calls Johnny, Mama's boy. Oh well, Kingdom Lax, where are you? We wonder who you are.
We got to get Kingdom on the podcast.
He's out there.
He's out there.
But yeah, that's an interesting storyline too. Now, obviously, it's not the matchup of them going head to head, but Coach Calabria, he'll be there, he'll be enjoying it, and hoping to see Sachem North make some history here.
And I actually want to find out when was their last Long Island title.
Sachem North.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'd have to look that up.
I found out the county because I spoke with Coach Morrow briefly after the game when the last, and he said it was 31 years, 95. And that was before, Sachem split.
Right.
But for the lawn, that I'm sure he would know too, because he's, a Sachem alum.
Yeah, we can definitely get that information. And if anyone is watching this podcast later on, they can shoot the LILJ a DM just with that information, because it is a good point, Jack. Would love to know that information. So those are your boys LICs on Saturday, and we'll quickly run through the girls on Sunday. So the girls are in order, so it's A, B, C, D. So you're starting off with a rematch from last year, Huntington and Massapequa. Will Huntington repeat as Long Island champs?
Or will Pequa get its revenge?
Yes.
And I mentioned this to you the other day, an interesting fact. An LIC matchup with two different head coaches.
Yeah, you had mentioned that to me, Jack.
We don't see that often, seeing a rematch with two different head coaches.
Yeah, it's a great point. Two teams with different coaches from last year, but they both get back to the same exact spot that they were a year ago.
It shows you they're doing this, the team and the school's done a great job, keeping the team where they were at.
Yeah, being able to stay consistent. It's definitely shown that even though they've had coaching changes, they've still been able to get their teams to where they were a year ago. So just like having the consistency has been a huge deal, because sometimes you see coaching changes and a lot of times it ends up not working out for the better, where a team has a regression, but not these two teams. They are right back in the LIC, and I'm certainly excited for this game for sure. I
think we're also going to have a great atmosphere, because both schools, Pequa always turns out well. Huntington's been really drawn out well the last 2 years. But
Huntington bringing a bus on Sunday?
I don't know. I did find out a team is throwing a fan bus for the LIC. I'll get to them when we talk about them in a little bit.
Oh, another team is bringing a fan bus.
Yeah, I found it.
I wonder if Huntington is too.
If not, I'm sure they'll still turn out.
Oh yeah, they'll definitely show up for sure. I expect a great crowd for that game. And for the Huntington Blue Devils, last year it was bet on us. This year it's still bet on us, but it's also doubled down, as they're looking for the repeat. So I'll be very curious to see how Huntington comes out in that game, because obviously they'll have a target on their back, because Massapequa, they're trying to wipe the bad taste out of their mouths from last year. So I think that's going to be a great game. I would be very surprised if it was one-sided either way. So I'm really eager to see how that game goes. TJ had to jump. I figured as much, but all good. But that game, Pequa Huntington, that really excites me, and I'm also curious to see if this Huntington defense.
How they guard Savannah Appleton.
Right, how they guard someone like Savannah Appleton. Also, just in general, because you gave that nugget earlier, Jack. They haven't had a game all season where they've allowed double-digit goals. So the most they gave up was 8 against CSH. Because I feel like it's kind of like you're watching an elite defense versus
an elite offense.
So which one is going to give? And I feel like in pro sports, a lot of times, I feel like when you see those matchups, I feel like the defense usually wins.
I like Huntington in this game because of the defense.
You're going Huntington. Okay.
I'm going Huntington. I'm thinking like a 9-8 game. It's going to be a tight one.
Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be.
I will say Pequa's defense is doing a good job too. Earlier in the season, they had an entirely new defense this year.
Yeah, new defense.
I think they had put a new coaching staff. I think they have 3 sophomores on there, because he got Felker,
Ferguson. Yep.
Who's the other? There's one more defender I'm thinking about who's the sophomore. Felker,
Ferguson. Hold on. But anyway, I see the point that you're making. Just with a new defense, and also a new coach who is defensive oriented. So like it took a little time. Like
I remember you covered them earlier in the season against Garden City when they put up 21 on them.
Yeah, I know. But look, they've come a long way since then.
And it just shows you how much the players and the coaches are putting into this.
Yeah, of course. And look, if they play GC again,
I don't expect them to put 21 on them.
No. It's one of those things where it's like they kind of just had to go through those growing pains
early in the season. And I think I got Huntington, but I think this is going to be a great game.
Yeah, I think so too. Also, I'm not sure if you were trying to refer to Peyton Wilds on defense.
Yeah, she was a returner.
Yeah.
Because it was Felker, Ferguson. There was another sophomore, I'm thinking.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Not a Kira. No, she's not a D. You know what I'm talking about.
No, I actually don't.
No, Kira. She's got a long.
Wojtkowski.
Yeah, she's D.
Oh, well, she can play offensive mid. That's why I wasn't sure where you were going on defense.
Yeah, but
okay. Yeah, you're talking about, Wojtkowski. She's also a 28.
Yeah, that's right. She's a 28. That's what I was thinking about.
Okay.
But overall, like, I think to be, and also to Denellen, who's a junior.
Yeah, Brooke Denellen, another 27.
I think I think, like I said, you got Piqua's elite offense and Huntington's elite defense going head to head.
Yeah, it's kind of those what's going to give. And 2 sophomores in net. How about that?
Oh, yeah, Fitzgerald on Piqua and Johnson for Huntington.
Yeah.
The big thing, too, and even, too, the draws, I think, are going to be pretty even.
Yeah, the draws.
Weinstrider for Huntington, and Pico, you float. Sometimes you put sometimes a Lojadis.
Yeah, Lojadis. She could take draws, but she's also big on the circle.
She'll take the ground balls.
I mean, Macri also another one.
Macri, sometimes either Molly Hoffman.
Right. So that game, I agree with you. I think it's going to be a tight game, and it's just a matter of what's going to give, the Piqua offense or the Huntington defense. So that's your first game of the day. Then your second game is your B game, which is West Hampton and GC, a rematch from 4 years ago. So another game that, Jack, is near and dear to your heart.
No.
So can you provide some analysis without being biased? No, I'm kidding.
I definitely can. A big factor for GC is the draws, with having Regan Backer and Katie Horn.
Yeah.
And even, too, for West in the Smithtown West game, the draws, I think, were leaning a little bit more towards Smithtown West, but West Hampton managed either to kill off, the defense.
Yeah, the defense we were talking about.
Ball.
The West Hampton defense these last few games has played great.
Yeah, and really starting from the ComSWA game in the first round when I saw.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. And I tell you, I think both of these schools really want it.
Oh, of course they want it.
And Garden City, Dave Enger looking to get his first state title as the head coach of the girls lacrosse program. And then you got West Hampton, who's just a team that's really been playing with heart the last few weeks.
Yeah, West Hampton, they kind of look like they're sort of that team of destiny right now. I mean, everything just kind of came together.
Yeah, you don't want to play them.
Oh, they're a live dog. They are certainly a live dog.
And I gotta wonder who's gonna come out hot who comes out hot.
Yeah, the start to that game could be very telling into how that game ends up unfolding as a whole.
And I wonder too a big sleeper for GC this year is how well Tegan Gately's played in a lot of these big games.
Yeah, Gately, she was awesome in the county championship against Manhasset.
That county championship was just that was arguably one of the games of the year right there.
Yeah, and that's easily the biggest game that to date that Tegan Gately has played in. and she stepped up in a huge way.
Oh, and also the big factor I wonder too, and this affects all Nassau teams going into the LIC. The rest.
Oh yeah, because they obviously played before the Suffolk team, so
and like West Hampton, Huntington. Huntington they played. I think that's right. They played the Tuesday. So, but West Hampton, also Sayville, they've played 2 more games since the last time those Nassau teams have played.
Yeah, because the Suffolk teams they're going just a week in between games, but the Nassau teams they had much more time off, which it's a good question. Like kind of rest versus rust. Like, does the rest help them or does it hurt them?
Because sometimes rest. We were talking about how West Islip had a 16-day rest between their last regular season and their first playoff game.
Right. It's like
and we saw how. And then you've had Bayport and Cold Spring Harbor on the D side, who, like you said, like Cold Spring, really besides when they played St. Anthony's.
Yeah, but
they really haven't faced much, of high-level competition in the last month.
Yeah, but even still, just from the last game in general, because that game, the D game was on
Thursday.
It was on a Thursday, so that was basically because today's Friday, so it'll be basically a week and a half, as opposed to a week for Bayport. In a game where they were obviously like challenged.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Will the rest help the Nassau teams? Will it hurt the Nassau teams, or will it really make a difference?
Right. Yeah, that's something that we'll definitely have to see.
I think I'm going to lean towards GC like 10-8, but I think West Hampton can pull it off.
Betting against family. Oh no.
But no,
I'm not making picks. If anyone's noticing. I'm just giving some some analysis here, but Jack, feel free to make picks. You've obviously made picks on some of these games here already, but so you're going Garden City, but you feel West Hampton will be very much in the game.
Yeah, and I think they could pull it off. A few factors. If their defense continues to play like they have been. If Mia Brown has a big game in the net, and also too, and if their offense contributes as a team like it has been during this playoff run.
You heard it here first. Those are Jack's keys to West Hampton pulling off the upset against Garden City. So that is your second game of the day. We'll go now to the C game, which is Sayville against the Southside Cyclones.
And Southside, they're the team doing the fan bus.
Oh, that's the team doing the fan bus?
Yeah, which their boys' atmosphere was great the other night.
Yeah, it was. It definitely was. They've showed up to these big games. I remember the LIC a couple years ago against East Islip. They were electric. There was a game actually a few years ago. They it might have been a makeup date. I don't remember. It might have been because of bad weather. It was one of those years where they played Manhasset, I think in the county championship. It might have been like 4 years ago. And the game was at like, I don't know, maybe like 2:00 in the afternoon.
In 2022. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was at like 2 p.m. on a weekday. And people showed up. Now, look, granted, Hofstra's very close, but still, like 2:00 on a school day, like people showed up. So they tend to draw great crowds.
And overall, like I think too, like we'll see how many people ride the bus to Stony Brook, but they should have a great atmosphere.
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder how they match up with Sayville.
Yeah, well, Sayville, obviously the draws is a huge factor. That's one of those things where like just imagine if Southside still had someone like Charlotte Rathjen on the team.
Yeah, that would have been.
That would be
doing a good job, winning a bunch of draws into some of these crucial games, and also too, they're using their freshman superstar Juliet Diorio usually right there, to take the ground ball.
Yeah, Diorio is definitely going to be one to watch in the ground ball department. I wouldn't be surprised if she ends the game with like 6 or 7 ground balls, 4 to 5 caused turnovers, like something like that would not.
Yeah, her stats. When it comes to those ground balls and cross turnovers are on a whole other level.
Yeah, totally. But Sayville, they're looking to keep the perfect season alive. Southside is looking for the upset.
And like you said, some teams are going to be – every team's got Sayville on their
radar.
Their radar. And like we were talking about earlier with Garden City, how like Manhasset had them on that radar.
100%. Yeah, when you're undefeated or you're like a team that's in national rankings, then like every team is going to give you their best shot. And we saw that with Harborfields against Sayville this past weekend.
Yeah, that game was on their radar.
Of course it was. Of course it was. And it's the same thing for Southside. So they're going to give it their best shot, and we're going to see how that game unfolds. And for Southside, look, this is now their second straight year in the Long Island Championship. So all it takes is just a couple of years where you start to build up that reputation of being a perennial contender. So last year they made history playing in their first LIC.
Winning the county championship.
Yep. They get back again this year. And now this year they're looking to pull off an upset against Sayville. So we'll see how that game unfolds. That's going to be –
I'm going to say 13-6 Sayville.
All right, 13-6 Sayville. That is Jack's prediction. Now we're going to go to the D game, the final game of the evening, and that is CSH against Bayport.
Also a rematch of the 2019 Class C LIC, the last two times these teams met.
Yeah, so that was
a 13-12 CSH win.
Right, and CSH, they went on to win the state championship
Yes.
year, right? Yeah, I thought so. Yeah, so this is, as you mentioned a few minutes ago, this is CSH's probably toughest test since the St. Anthony's game, which was basically a month ago at this point.
And seeing Coach Gick and Coach Castellane battling it out head to head.
Yeah, well, for first time now that they're going against each other since 2019.
7 years.
Yeah, that's a game too. I kind of wish I didn't really think about it at the time, but just thinking now, the last like few years before Bayport became a D school, that would have been a good regular season game to get. CSH and Bayport.
Yeah, I'm excited for this LIC, and I mean Bayport, I'm sure is going to draw in great numbers.
Yeah, close proximity, and I'm sure too because you got to figure the day before you'll have the girls there supporting the boys. So
yeah, they'll have to come out, the boys.
Yeah,
I mean, if they win, they'll definitely be there.
Oh yeah, I think they'll be there regardless. But yeah, they'll be riding that emotional high if they're coming off of a win from the day before. No question. But I think one of the keys in this game, I think, is the draws. And we saw Bayport, they had a bit of a hard time against Babylon, but I could see them having some more success this time around.
I think so too. And you think they'll still go with Charlotte Bishop?
Look, I don't know for sure, but if I had to guess, I think they would still go with Bishop to start. And then if things aren't working,
put Layla in.
Yeah, then you make the adjustment. But I would think you want to roll with what's gotten you to this point, and then if it's not working, then you pivot in a different direction. But I think the draws are going to play a big factor, and I think Audrey Davidian in the net for CSH, who she's had a great season.
Yeah, stepping in, like we've said before on this podcast, stepping in from Maya Soskin.
Yeah,
who just or mentioning Soskin, she recently announced that she now is going to be headed to Cuse.
Yep.
And we'll reunite with Olivia Malata.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, shout out to Maya Soskin transferring to Syracuse. So definitely wishing her the best of luck. Who knows? She might. I wouldn't be shocked if she's there this weekend.
No, I bet you. I won't be surprised if she's there.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll get to see her.
And a bunch of the CSH and Bayport, alums. I witnessed Ava Mine was there on Sunday.
Yeah, you told me you saw Ava Mine. I didn't see her, but you told me she was there.
The Icefeld's parents came out.
Yup. Yeah, so that's the other thing too. I like seeing seeing the alumni show up at these games. Like
we saw Reese King, Kate Theofield, was there to respect, their respective teams.
Yeah. But yeah, like I just think in this game that the goaltending is also going to be huge. And Audrey Davidian, she could end up being the difference in this game possibly. And look, when you get to learn from someone like Maya Soskin the last couple of years, like the wealth of knowledge that you're probably taking in just from being a spectator, I mean, it can go a long way, and it's definitely paying off for Audrey this year. I mean,
I'm interested too because we'll see what they get from Peyton D'Angelo and Anastasia Sorone. Which Bayport, they're kind of reminding me of the goaltending like UNC this year, and what they did was they would play Betty Nelson in the first half, then in the second half they would put our own Alexi Zank.
Yep.
In the second half, and they won every game when they did that. Besides, the national championship game,
right?
But they've been doing that this year a lot. Having D'Angelo play the first half, Sorone play the second half. Sometimes if D'Angelo is playing well, they'll just keep her in.
Yeah, exactly. You kind of can ride the hot hand too, depending on how they're playing. But yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to watch because. Again, I think Audrey for CSH, she's had a great season and she's very skilled. But obviously, when it's your first year as the starter, like you kind of want to just go into it, like kind of seeing like how she's going to perform. And she has been as advertised.
He said, "I'm looking forward for the coaching matchup between Gick and Castellane, two coaches who have been very successful and have multiple county LIC state championships on their belts."
Yeah, those are two of your most decorated coaches that you'll see on Long Island from the high school standpoint. And like whoever wins that game on Sunday, they're going to have earned it. It's not going to come easy, I don't think. So that game is going to be a war, and that could be the start of possibly a bit of a rivalry. You never know.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a rivalry before. It's just, obviously with Cold Spring Harbor being in D, but now that they're back in the same class.
Exactly. Yeah. So, are you giving a prediction, Jack? Or
I'm thinking 10-9 Bayport in a thrilling fashion.
Ooh, 10-9 Bayport. Any overtime games? Do you think?
No, I think it's going to be a late regulation goal.
Ooh. I like it. So kind of similar to like, let's say the Smithtown East West Islip game.
We can go deep the GC set, girls game we saw.
Yeah, something like that.
I think it's gonna be a back and forth.
Yeah. I think that game's gonna be tight. Also, I'd be surprised if it wasn't. I think your A game and your D game, I think those games, if there were two games that could possibly go to OT,
those were your two best bets. Which any game. When you're a good team that's making it this far, it can go any way.
Yeah, absolutely, without question. So yeah,
I got Cold Spring Harbor making a message. No, Class D is ours.
Yeah, look, they're the reigning.
Who are like, we want to make it. Class D is no longer your destiny.
Yeah, CSH, they're the reigning two-time state champs.
Yeah, they're like they want to be like, this is ours.
Yep, they're looking to maintain their status as the champs with a different cast of characters this year. So that also makes it interesting. And Bayport is looking to come in and dethrone them.
Mentioning too with Cold Spring Harbor, like from pretty basically graduating probably almost their entire lineup from last year, and in this year you have a legitimate shot of winning a state championship again. Like you don't see that. You don't really see that much.
No, not at all. I can't really think of anyone like that where the year after, like the team looks so different, and yet they still end up winning it all again.
Yeah, that's the thing. CSH, you just reload.
Yep, they reload, not rebuild. So they're going to be going for the three-peat, and can't wait for the weekend. The boys and the girls Long Island championships. It's going to be awesome. So those were Jack's predictions on rooting for players. So I'm rooting for the success of players. So hopefully the games are great. Can't wait to be on the sideline covering all the action. Jack, of course, you'll be there. We'll have TJ there tomorrow, also Jared, and should be a great weekend to close out lacrosse here on Long Island for 2026. So that's going to do it for this week's special edition of the podcast of the Weekly Crossbar. So this is Ellis Joshua and Jack Hewlett signing off, and we thank everyone that tunes in and hope you enjoy the games this weekend.
All right.